Get in the boat! Yeah!
Get in the boat, big daddy. That is a mega man.
It's the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Oh, smart not to predict what's going to happen on a final day at a place like Okeechobee. We started out with the top 12. Then we're separated by about 15 pounds as we look at our leaderboard now. We got about 5-6 pounds separating the top 8 guys in there. Hot Depot on top right now. Bobby Lane Jr. I'm going to take you back out, take a look at our 5 live. We're covering our raffle of 5 live. Our anglers we are on today. We've seen a varying results from all of them, including Stephen Browning, a very slow start.
Stephen Browning, a slow start today, really surprises me. He's been catching almost as many numbers as Octafo. Been one of the guys that's been catching them on different ways, but lots of numbers all week long.
Greg Hackney was the name everyone was finding extremely notable in the top 3 as we start this day. And look at Hackney, got a limit, but he'd like to upgrade as well.
He's still going to be scared before this day is over. He's got his limit. He's fishing really slow and patiently. You just know he's going to get a big bite.
An 8-pound lead to start this day over the rest of the field for Tim Horton, and just the unthinkable. So far, Tim Horton without a keeper in the boat.
Well, unthinkable if you don't know about the wind. The north wind has really just decimated his best area where he's, I think, caught every fish he weighed in except one.
Cliff Prince, Florida angler, lots of experience on this body of water, and some of that showing out early this morning.
Great Florida fisherman. Got a chance to win today. He's been catching most of his big fish. Last thing yesterday, literally the last flip.
Our leader from day number 1 with 31 pounds and change. Hot Depot has been up and down a little bit, but never out of that top 3. And right now, as it stands halfway through our fishing day on Okeechobee, our day 1 leader, Hot Depot, the momentum man we call him, is the man on top of the leaderboard right now. But again, we got a whole half a day, and judging on what we've seen in the first half of this day, a whole lot more can take place.
It really can. Timmy has been moving around a little bit. He hasn't had to do that. The wind has made him do this. He's doing the right thing. But we had some great fishermen here this week. Chris Lane, you can just keep on some names that always catch him in Florida. Timmy had a great area that he could have certainly closed the deal had this wind not blown like it has. He's having to move around, and it's like hunting a needle in a haystack. It's not going to be easy for him to find another glory hole like he's been fishing the last 3 days.
Yeah, it's not like one of those stories, well, my big ones seem to have gone away. My whole fishery has gone away.
Exactly.
For him.
If you've never been to the Big O, you just can't imagine how this place changes overnight. Hot Depot mentioned this morning on the north side of the lake, the water had dropped a foot, which means on the south side where Timmy Horton has been fishing, it came up a foot, and when it rises a foot because of the wind, it's dirty water pushed in.
Let's run back up. That was a good stretch right there.
He mentioned that was a good stretch. How can you say, how was that a good stretch? He hasn't caught one today. He's looking for a certain type of hydrilla, a certain type of grass. In this case, I'd be pretty sure it's hydrilla. When he says a good stretch, you don't have to catch anything. You know from experience when you look in the water and you see clumps, you see holes, depending on what you're looking for, a hard edge of hydrilla underneath the water, you're looking for certain things. And Stephen Brown is doing the same thing right here, looking for the right setup with the vegetation. In this case, Timmy and Stephen Brown in hydrilla.
Stephen Browning, another one, shockingly does not have a keeper in the boat today. He was catching them virtually at will.
I'd say 20, 30 a day for sure.
Oh, easily. On that pace yesterday, that's for sure, because we watched it. And Ronnie Moore, we've got 3 guys without a fish today. The rest of the guys limited up, right?
Yes, the other 9 guys in the top 12 have a limit so far.
Tim Horton, Stephen Browning, Andy Montgomery still looking for their first keeper of the day. But again, hold on. We've seen a lot of that from Stephen Browning.
You see a lot
today.
more of that today. Those bites yesterday, those fish are taking that whole bait in. Today, they're just swatting at it. We talked about there's days when fish gobble up your bait. In Florida, it's typically on the days that the wind's blowing from the south, not the north. Stephen caught a lot of his fish yesterday, including his biggest fish, 12-pound test line, a spinning rod, a finesse technique. These fish have been beat on in the Monkey Box, North Shore area, Harney Pond. Lots of the competitors have been over there. since last Monday, and it just gets beat up a lot, and downsizing, finesse fishing like Stephen was able to do yesterday has really helped him a lot. The wind just makes it so tough to do this because you're fishing a Cinco type bait, a bait without any vibration, just a real subtle action. You need to do it on controlled slack line and let that bait do the work, real subtle. It's hard to do. He had to put a bigger sinker on there today, and it just makes it tough. The reason you have to have that sinker on there is to be able to feel the grass. The other thing is, if you don't have the sinker on there, the wind will just blow your line, a big bow in your line, and it'll pull on that bait and not let it go down in those holes.
Ooh.
Missed another one.
Well, at least those here we goes are really here we goes.
Well, welcome back. We got another 3 hours of Bassmaster Live coming your way. The three crucial hours, although as we've said before, every hour is crucial in one of these tournaments. Hour number one of day number one was very crucial as well. What you were able to put in the barn on day one may serve you very well at the end of the day today. Let's take a look at our Toyota midday report to see what's gotten us where we are, this point we're at today, with changing scores, a scoreboard that looks a good bit different than how it looked when we started our day. Tim Horton, we'll look at him first, and we just heard the story about Tim Horton. No fish today in his place, his fishery basically gone.
We've watched him a lot over the last few days, have not seen him have but one bait, one rod in his hand the whole time. It tells you something's going on this morning. He's casting a swim jig.
Got a block, and he's moving to the Honey Pond area.
Honey Pond area, okay. Stephen Browning, again, we saw him catch him so good yesterday, caught him, all these different ways in completely different conditions. That's the thing to keep in mind today. And you've been pointing toward this day all week long, Davey, saying watch out for the wind on Sunday, and that certainly played havoc with everyone's results.
Cliff, for instance, caught some fish this morning that he said would definitely be bonus fish because he's been catching fish better in the afternoon. I still expect him to catch a few fish in the afternoon, but he's been side fishing some of those fish. It's going to be tough to do with even a small ripple on the water at Lake Okeechobee. You got a black bottom in a lot of areas. It's really tough to see these fish, even on calm days.
I don't know how many people were predicting that we were going to see the jerk bait play a big role down at Okeechobee, but we saw it, that's for sure. Yeah. We all got an eye full of that. Greg Hackney, everyone anticipating watching Hackney in action today, had a great day number 3 and just working in his first spot there and just trying to get things figured out with these changing conditions.
Not like he needed any advantage, but one thing that should help Hackney today, he's farther back in these areas flipping than most of the other guys. More protected, water should stay clear. He's going to probably catch a big one.
I haven't fished this very much,
If it winds up, he'll probably be the only guy who sticks with the same thing in his hand throughout this entire tournament, right?
Exactly right. I thought it was going to be Timmy Horton.
I did too.
The wind didn't agree with that. When Greg Hackney is getting bites with a jig, it's just a matter of time before he's going to get that big bite if he can capitalize and get it in the boat.
Took him a good long while to get that first bait today, or that first bite today, but he got it, able to put a limit in the box. Ott Defo, first 2 fish on a frog today.
We've been watching Ott catch so many fish, more numbers than anyone else, I think. He's been starting out in the mornings a shad spawn with a frog just like this, catching fish that he ended up not weighing in, especially the first day when he had 31 pounds. He did catch one of his 8-pounders on a frog, but a lot of these fish early in the morning around these shad have been smaller. This morning when he was catching them, he had no idea it would put him in the lead of the tournament.
All the other days of this tournament, a 9-pound limit was just a starter limit.
Absolutely.
It could be a finisher.
I'm going to put them in there for now, but there's no way I'll need these guys. You need everyone.
Absolutely. Check on them. Make sure they're all right.
Yeah.
We talked about 3 of our top 12. The rest of them have limits. 3 of our top 12 had no fish, but now Stephen Browning going to get rid of the donut right now, we think. Just moments ago.
Golly. I'm telling you, that was all day. 11:30. Get you some of that and you catch one right up underneath the stinking boat. That's horrible. But I'm gonna be honest with you. She's a start. Not a very big start, but she is a start. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Let me at least go across the stage with one.
See, they have no idea. They're not able
Right
to watch
where I had
bass
'em
live.
marked yesterday.
All right, from Stephen Browning back over to Tim Horton. Again, we're having a whole lot of problems getting Tim Horton's signal today. It's just the way it's worked out, the places he has landed today, the changes he's had to make. We just have not been able to get him. Of course, Tim Horton earlier, no fish in the box, but we know that now he's got one in the box. We had to miss that. We'll take a look at the second fish that he's put in the box today. 2 fish now for Tim Horton. This is the way it went down moments ago.
Boy, the previous 3 days when he'd catch one that size,
Oh,
I don't know if we even saw him catch one that small in the past 3
One
days.
on day number 3, one that size. How about
Certainly
that? Day
didn't
number
think
2,
he'd weigh
yeah.
him in, but he's loving those right now. He realizes how tough it's going to be today, not just on him, but probably the whole field. He's fished down there enough to know that a 20-mile-an-hour north wind certainly changes everything.
You'd think all these old hands would know that, but again, you know, you're going to feel sorry for yourself if you're not catching them, no matter what
That's right.
everyone else is going through.
Something interesting, we saw him when we were with him earlier. He said, let me go back through that area. It looked good. And obviously he went back through that area, not having a bite the first time, but just having the eyes for what looks good. And then he's caught 2 fish.
Till my body gets adjusted to this global warming.
Dave Lefebvre with a 4.5 pounder. He's up to 17.3.
Oh, wow.
Hunting apparel. They make, and you know, for
It looks like he's in the same little ditch that we've seen him during the
Yes,
midday for several days in a row. He's been able to catch some fish in there the last few days.
I should have said, when you said, what is Badlands? And I mean, that's where I live.
I made a move during that midday break, that hour and a half we took a break, got a report from on the water that he had ran across Okeechobee and it was getting pretty rough according to the photographer and Chase over here, and it seems like he's pretty calm now that he's gotten tucked into his little area that he's gonna flip and pick apart.
Map has him just north of Clewiston.
A bunch of fish in here.
Timmy Horton now with 2 fish, so that unofficial leaderboard you're
Saw
looking at
one
right
decent
there.
one right
Not
up there, right where
updated
it
as
first
yet.
opened
That was his finishing weight from the end of day number 3. We'll get that updated as soon as we get some.
Timmy's about as far away from where he's been fishing as he can get.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If that water looked as bad as I think it may have, he probably wanted to get as far away from it as he could get. I don't blame him. This is what you want. We're looking at 2 great fishermen right now. Rapala 5 live, all of them great fishermen. You just got 2 there right now, but any of the 5 catch a big fish now and win this derby.
Oh man.
The last
You're
half
right. You
of the
can't
last
ask for
day.
better than that.
Nope.
Top 7 are within 3 pounds, 6 ounces of each other on
Top
Bass Track.
7.
Wow. Just keeps
3-6.
Because I will unload it if I feel like I need to.
And you know one of them's going to catch it. 5-pounder for sure.
you just feel it.
Even on a tough day.
Come on.
There's been
roll
one
10?
5-pounder caught today, unofficially obviously, but 1 5-pounder on Bass Track, so definitely uncharacteristic compared to the first 3 days.
other thing was, it seemed like all the fish that I caught here were up high. You know what I'm saying?
There's about a dozen little bitty bass.
Of course, today very, very different conditions-wise. We can't harp on that enough, but actually we are. That's what we are doing. So
right.
we're doing our job here.
Not enough, though.
Not enough. Maybe not enough. We got some more to talk about, weather conditions and the window for the bite. I mean, let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Afternoon delight. Somebody's hard at work in there.
Wow.
Figuring stuff out.
7-11, 8, 6, 8, 8, 6 and an 8, 6 and 8. Some big fish, all in the second half of the day. I don't think we'll see that many today. We got less anglers, but we got the guys that have done the best all week. So we got a good crew out there. Bobby Lane included, start off in 12th place, right up there, close to the lead, second place or so. But the reason that most of these fish, in my opinion, are being caught later in the day, they're those bigger females that move up and lock on and catch. Cliff Prince and I had a long conversation coming into this. He's so knowledgeable about these Florida waters, and he says those fish they leave overnight a lot of times and don't come back until the water starts warming. Unfortunately, today it's not going to warm like it has. We've had calm, bright, sunny skies, some partly cloudy, but the sun and the calm water really heats up, and I don't know if that's going to happen as much today.
Well, we're going to dip into our TH Marine Weather Watch a little bit later here and take an official look at it. Depending on what model you're looking at, the one I'm looking at right now shows the wind now is starting on its downward taper. It's up in the 18, 20 mile an hour. It's supposed to be down around 10, 11 miles an hour and sort of flatten out there for the rest of the day. I don't know if that's a big enough dip to make any difference or not.
That would be huge. Here's something I haven't thought of all week, but it could definitely play a role this afternoon. If that wind is calming down a little, later in the afternoon it's going to be better. If you're a 45 to 50 minute boat ride away from check-in, will you miss that window?
Oh, that's a great point right there. Absolutely. You might want to think about where you are.
Knows I got an addiction, so he keeps me. He knows that I'm the type of guy that'll tie one on. I can tell you this, kind of looks like Grove Savant. Oh, really? Yeah. This is exactly what it'll look like.
Look at Greg Hackney. He's on his toes. Been fishing for 7 straight days, getting up real early in the morning and probably working on tackle, trying to get one decent meal a night in you, all that stuff, but he's on his toes. He's a veteran that knows that one big fish can win this deal. One bite. Wouldn't have thought that yesterday because it looked like it's just so easy at Lake Okeechobee. You pitch out there and those 8-pounders are biting most guys jigs, and what a difference a day makes. What a difference a 20-mile-an-hour north wind makes.
Oh my gosh. Turn the world upside down on this day.
Hackney mentioned earlier that he really couldn't fish the way he wanted to and really dissect everything. The wind was pushing his boat along a little more. He's really dropping in every little spot now. He's dialed in, and like I mentioned, on his toes, just waiting on that one opportunity.
Got a limit in the boat, and like you said earlier, every one of those fish in that limit taught him a little something about the way things are different today, what he needs to be doing today. Lesson not wasted on that guy. Got the weigh-in coming up at 3:15 this afternoon right here on Bassmaster.com. Dave Mercer's going to be in charge of all that. It's high time, long past time. We check in with Dave Mercer. Had a good conversation with him this morning, and let's see if we can get our Triton on the line. Feature up and rolling here. We're having a little trouble with some of our pictures today, but Triton on the line should be working just fine with Dave Mercer. Back with our guest today. Yeah, I recognize that guest. We're going to get the scientific angle right now. Come on, Dave, let's bring it.
Hey guys, an incredible tournament we've had here as of this morning. You saw, obviously, Timmy Horton with an 8-pound lead, and now the top 9 are within less weight than that. But this event is going to go down to one thing, Tommy, as I'm sure you know, Chilonitka, which... Sure, Tommy, is sure you know it's Seminole for big bass, and there is lots of big bass in this incredible fishery. And Gene Gilland, in Lake Okeechobee, this has been a celebration of an incredible fishery, but it's easy to look at how good it is, but there is some threats on this body of water, is there not?
There are, Dave. You know, there's a lot of these iconic fisheries that are under attack from one thing or another, and in this case, there's actually the big issue down here in South Florida is restoring the Everglades because they're dried up. This lake is historically, water from this lake flowed south to the Everglades, and all of the nutrients that this lake soaks up were filtered out as that water went south to the Gulf and the Atlantic, and that's not working the way it used to. You know, last year we had the big floods, and all of the discharges out of this lake caused these horrible algae blooms on both coasts where that water didn't used to go. Well, now there's a bill in the Florida legislature to raise the water level out here 2 feet so it will hold more water. And on the surface, that sounds pretty good.
Seems simple.
But the problem is 2 feet of extra water, as dark as this water is, will completely wipe out the vegetation. The submerged vegetation, the bulrush walls, the things that protect the dike around it. It's a very short-sighted proposal. And what we want to make sure is that people in Florida understand that and talk to their state senators, because when this thing comes up for a vote, it needs to get killed. It's Senate Bill 816, and it's a bad bill, and it's really going to hurt the lake in the long run, and that's something we want to make sure everybody's aware of, because there are some other good bills that are in the legislature right now to actually kind of restore the natural flow of water south and still protect the lake and the fishery, and at the same time help the Everglades. So those are some good ones, but this one right now is something that really needs to get shot down.
So explain to me how it'll affect it. I mean, when you say it's going to lose the vegetation, obviously as an angler we know how that affects it, but I got to believe that's also the root system and the foundation of the lake.
Exactly. When you lose that vegetation, that's the cover, the nursery habitat for the small fish. You know, you're going to wind up with a situation where for however many years that kind of thing goes on, you're going to have poor reproduction, poor survival of the young bass. The forage base is going to decline. You've got so many nutrients flowing into this lake from Orlando and everything upstream coming down this Kissimmee River right here behind us. It's just going to get worse and worse. And so without that vegetation to help soak up those nutrients and provide that nursery habitat for young fish, the quality of the bass fishing in this lake could just plummet.
Scary. So once again, tell me, how do we fight this? I mean, one of the amazing things about anglers, we're a very powerful group. If we make ourselves a powerful group, I mean, we're all too busy chasing Chilonitka, big bass out there, and we do not really think of the future in some situations. So this is an opportunity for all our bass members to act. How do they do it?
Well, especially the ones that live in Florida, they need to contact their state senators and make sure that their senator is aware of this bill and that it gets voted down. It's the bill to raise Okeechobee's water level 2 feet. It's Senate Bill 816. Make sure that their senators are aware of it and that they vote no.
Very cool. Well, we will make sure to keep pushing that. Senate Bill 816. Send a letter to your Congress. And speaking of bills, we're going to be joined by Dollar Bill Lowe. And Gene, I want to thank you for your incredible, tireless work you do here at the Bass Angler Sportsman Society. And let's bring in Dollar Bill Lowe, our next guest here. And Dollar Bill, it's got to be a little bit painful for you, a little more painful, you know, finishing 13th, being the first guy out, and then after you watch after you watch what happens. Well, let's just switch sides again here.
We're getting all
It's
up.
called musical
This
mics.
looks
It's
like
a fun game.
This looks like your fishing reel all tangled up.
Backlash again. When you see that the guy who just knocked you out to get into the top 12 is contending for this win, trying to take away Jason Christie's record of the deepest anyone's ever come to win an Elite Series event is from 11th place. Only one spot deeper you can go, and Bobby Lane has done that. Was there a moment in this tournament that you're saying, that was the 6 ounces that cost me the cut?
Yeah, the first day of the event, I lost one that was in that 8 or 9 pound class. You know, when you're fishing in the junk, in the reeds, punching mats, things like that, they're going to get tangled up and you're going to lose them. That's the only fish I've lost all week. You know, she got tangled up. I went in there as fast as I could, just about got to her, and she came unbuttoned. So if you think about 6 ounces versus 6 or 7 pounds, that would have added to my weight. Absolutely, I'm thinking about it big time right now.
One of the things that we really got to figure out going into this tournament today, much different conditions in the way that we finally had like a strong wind here. The first 3, we had a little bit of wind, but nothing like this. How is that going to, I mean, we've obviously seen early on it's made things a lot tougher for most of our anglers. Outside of that, what anglers is that going to affect the most, do you believe?
You know, I believe that the guys that are on the south end, kind of like where Timmy and Dean and them are down there, it's going to affect them because this lake is big and them waves build all the way down there. And if there's any tip I can give guys for fishing in Florida that don't fish here a lot is wind is your worst enemy here. There's so much sediment and so much bottom decay in this lake that just a little bit of wind stirs that up. And Florida bass do not like dirty water. Typically where I'm from, I look for dirty water because I love it. Florida bass, that's like they pack their bags and they run. So the biggest tip I can give is when you're fishing an event on a place like Lake Okeechobee is try to plan for the wind. Try to have multiple locations where if the wind blows your area out, you got a backup plan. I've had some really good events in Florida, and I can look back on every one of them, and the wind has always killed me. I've never had that backup plan. This event, I felt like I had that backup plan. I felt like if I got to go today, I had an area where it was going to be protected, and I'd be able to catch them, but it just didn't work out.
Realistically, and we're going to get accused of this, we get accused of this all the time, saying you're trying to create drama. You look at a guy like Timmy Horton with an 8-pound lead, hasn't caught a fish yet. Can they catch him? I mean, I know at this point in the tournament, it looks like they definitely can. Oh, he's got 3 fish. Last time we checked, he had not had a fish, but he's got 3 fish now, so things turning around. What weight does he need to have to feel safe in this event?
I think realistically, I think what he go into the day with, how big of an 8-pound lead, I think he's got to catch him 15 to feel really good. I think 10 pounds would be great. At this point, with only having 3, I think anything he catches at this point would be a big plus. But with that being said, this is Lake Okeechobee. There's 10-pounders swimming everywhere. We've already seen 2 30-pound sack this week. So a 30 or 40-pound sack is not out of the question. It only takes 5 drops to get the right bite. So to say, what does he need to be comfortable? I think he needs to catch as much as he can, as fast as he can, before the bell rings.
The last 2 days at Wayne, one of the stories that happened on stage, and maybe it's Storytime Theater, who knows, but several anglers had told me last cast of the day. My last flip, we saw it with Cliff Prince yesterday, and several anglers that said that. So this really isn't over till it's over. And Timmy Horton came up here and caught his biggest fish yesterday as well. Is that a timing thing, or are they just getting to some fresh fish, do you think?
No, I think it's absolutely a timing thing. This week it seems like the first 2 hours of the morning has been the deal. There's been some shad spawn and things like that going on. And then there's been a lull through the day. And I think even though we're in Florida and it's warm and it's sunny, it's still wintertime. Okay, so even though the water temperature is 70, that's cold water in Florida, because they're used to it being 80, 90 degrees. So even though it's warm, it's still winter. And I think midday, anytime in the winter on any body of water you're in, that's when them fish get fired up and they get more active. And I think that's exactly what happens. I think if we were to be able to fish 3, 4, 5 o'clock, it would be unbelievable what you'd see. But it's always about right when we're time to come in, is when them fish are starting to bite, and sometimes we get lucky and catch a big one on the last cast.
Well, it's been an exciting tournament. It's going to be exciting to see how it concludes. Can Timmy Horton hold on to that lead? It looked like it was slipping away, but 3 fish in the boat. Tommy Sanders and Davey Height, back to you guys. Thank you, Dollar Bill Lowen.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Dave Mercer. Dollar Bill Lowen. We have to call him Dollar Bill now, I guess. That's
a cool
that's all
name.
right. That's a good name. That's a name you want right
You
there.
betcha.
Is that not right? And Gene Gilliland. Gene Gilliland, great to hear from him as well. Gene Gilliland's going to be a great resource to Bassmaster Classic. He's a Texas guy. He knows everything about Conroe. We'll know why it's good when we get Gene Gilliland on the set there on
Had a lot of
Bassmaster
leaderboard
Live.
changes. Body Lane took over, then Cliff Prince took over. Tim Horton back on top.
All right, new leaderboard. We'll roll that out for you when we come back and get back out on the water. Don't go away.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Berkeley, Hook, Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Nitro Boats.
Man, it's slow today.
Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish.
Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Out of office?
Oh, man.
Hi, this is Skeet.
Skeet, out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the line. Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working.
I am working.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Just under 3 hours of fishing time for some of these guys out here. Some of these guys maybe less than 2.5 hours of fishing time, depending on where you're situated on Lake Okeechobee. Because travel's been a little bit more of a test today for some of these guys going long distances. This is Ott Depot right now. Ott Depot currently sitting unofficially in third place, but a long way from having done his work today.
Tommy, there's two things that just jumped out at me. He's locked down on a bedding fish, probably a good one the way he looks. I mean, he's pretty intense. Number two, is he not shoeless but just has socks on?
Is that right? Now that's a whole nother twist to it. We got to get to the bottom of this, so to speak.
He's on a bedding fish, and if he's taking his shoes off, it's a big one. Boy, one nice fish would change everything, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
He even said I look like a ninja.
Currently 3 pounds 10 ounces behind unofficially, so he's probably got a small one in the box he could definitely cull.
Timmy's moved around several times when he abandoned his area that's been so good to look at there.
We're full barefoot here.
Full barefoot, dog.
All right.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Some people just like to taste the bait with their feet. You know how that goes?
He's been on such a hot streak, he can't even wear shoes all day.
That's right.
Yep, I am barefoot now. It's finally gotten warm enough that took my shoes off, and it works pretty good as I've got my toes wrapped around this push pole holding me in place right here.
That's special talent
I'm
there.
fishing for this one on the bed. The male's biting me every pitch, and I've had the female interested in it, but can't get her to stay in there all the time.
How big is she, you think? The way he's shoeless and got his toes wrapped around that push pole,
Maybe
it must be a nice
5-pounder.
one.
Now, if he starts working that push pole,
Got
about a
real
5-pounder is what he
look
thinks
at
it is.
her.
Okay,
Pounder.
they told us.
Change everything. Because he's moved around. I was saying earlier, he's found a spot.
I'm probably
He's
going to
caught
end up
3
just
keepers.
going ahead and catching this male.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't catch
just
his
to make him
5
mad.
fish for 10, 11
Let him
pounds.
go.
Maybe some big fish, but he's going to catch his limit. That might be enough if somebody doesn't catch a 5-pounder. Oh. His toe never came
I've done it.
off of that.
That'll happen
push
every
pole.
scenario possible. You catch the male and then the female gets real aggressive. You catch the male and the female leaves, or, you know, I've had every scenario happen, but a lot of times I think if you can sting the male but let him go where he's back in there, that and he won't be messing with it then, well, then the female will get more aggressive.
This is good stuff with Ott. He said earlier that the male was biting every cast, but even the male really doesn't want to feed, just doesn't want that bait in the bed. So it'll just nip at the bait. And your first move, most guys will just not set the hook on that male and hope that the female will bite, so you don't really disturb anything. If that just keeps happening or does not work, the next move is to catch the male, get him out of there, release him, he goes back, but he's not going to bite as quickly as maybe the female will. But 2 things usually happen when you catch the male, if you have to catch that male. Number 1, you catch the female immediately, and number 2, they both leave. But it looks like he's decided to go ahead and try
One
to
place I
catch the
didn't
male.
fish in bare feet was at Cherokee. That would have not been a good idea up there.
What's funny is that I texted Zona during Cherokee Live because I saw Aaron Martins with his toe socks on and no shoes. He had came out of his shoes once it kind of got to 45, 50 degrees, and Aaron took his shoes off. So I wouldn't do it, but Aaron's crazy enough to do it.
If he starts working that push pole with his foot,
I'm
we're going
impressed.
to check him for a prehensile toe there,
It takes talent to set the hook, and he's kept his right big toe wrapped around that push pole, not flinched with his left foot. If he lands the male and never unwraps his toes from that foot pole, we're going to have to give some kind of special award for that.
Yeah,
Greatest toes on the Elite Series. Most athletic toes on the Elite Series.
Best imitation of a different primate.
I don't know how he's not cramping in that foot wrapped up like that. He might get a cramp when he sets the hook.
It doesn't flinch.
He's a little, he can't hardly get that sticko worm in his mouth.
Timmy Horton had good pictures of him, been few and far between for us, unfortunately today, and unfortunately for Timmy Horton. He didn't start catching them until halfway through this fishing day, but now he's got 3 keepers in there, about 5 pounds, nothing really big or anything. And Timmy Horton, of course, you know, we looked at this, the setup going into today, and you say, man, anybody's going to have a hard row to hoe because he is a closer supreme. That was borne out in a big way back at Lake Champlain, where he just was able to knock off halfway through his day.
He really did. He was on fire there. He had a rock pile there at Lake Champlain that he could just catch 4-pounder after 4-pounder from the moment he pulled up until he just got tired of reeling them in. Came in early that final day, ate pizza. I was out there trying to catch a keeper.
There we go.
And he's sleeping.
That's the way you want to wrap up the final day of any Bassmaster Elite Series event. Hey, could you keep that wake down a little bit? I'm trying to sleep here.
A lot of folks thought after he caught that 31-pound stringer just a few days ago that he might be ordering pizza here this week, but hasn't turned out that way. The girls have grown up too, didn't he say one of his daughter's birthdays
today? 17 years old? Yeah. Which one?
I think it was Lauren.
Lauren?
I think
Okay.
Lauren's her name.
All right.
Tim Horton takes the title of the champion.
That's his last win.
Oh my.
Before the beard.
Reach into the bag and hold up some of these good fish.
Something I've been meaning to ask you all week. I'm noticing the hair.
Yeah, no beard there. Otherwise, he's the ageless one. Doesn't look a day older since that last win.
He sure is. Who would have guessed? When we watched him catch that 31 pounds and saw almost every fish here on live, I thought he'd have another day, probably another 30-pound day and another 20 or 25-pound day. Who would have ever thought that after only 15 pounds yesterday, and I seriously think if he can catch 2 more just nice keepers and have 10 pounds a day, he might still win this thing.
Yep.
Who would have thought with a 15 and a 10-pound day to finish out this deal, he could hold on to the lead.
Making it exciting for us. That's, we appreciate all of that, but don't get too reckless out there. Hey, we did a good job yesterday with some Tim Horton trivia. We're going to hit you again with some Dick Seepeck trivia, Tim Horton related again, and here's the question. How long did Tim Horton actually fish on the final day of that victory? We just saw the footage of 2007.
Actually fish.
Lake Champlain, or Schlamplain.
It's Sunday.
Too much Champlain.
All right, all of our correspondents and social media, log on, enter your guess there. Twitter, approximately 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Hashtag Bass Live. Can you see it one more time? We can read out the rest of those questions there. Can we go back? No. Here we go.
How long did he actually fish?
How long did he actually fish on that final day? The other C and D is 1 hour or 1 hour and 20 minutes. So it's a pretty short window there. So
he had a good run.
Yeah, it was. It always is on Lake Champlain. They're down the area where he was. We'll get back to that one within the next 30 minutes. So let us hear from you.
First, I was like, well, it's a good bit dirtier than it was, out there where we started. But we got around here and it got right. I'm like, I ain't no excuses now.
Greg's talking about the watercolor dirtied up coming into this area that he's been able to catch a few big fish in.
It's like she just does a drive-by. She's back in there though.
But he's got back where the water's nice and clear, and he's saying there's no excuse not to get some bites there. The only thing that's different is about 20-degree air temperature, well, 15 at least, and that makes a difference down here for sure.
I just got confirmation from Andy Montgomery's marshal. He does have fish. He has 0 on Bass Track, but service is so spotty out there. I got to hold him in. He has 2 fish for 3 to 4 pounds, so not a lot, but he is on the board. And he had the biggest bag yesterday, so
yeah.
he could definitely make a move. He started the day in 7th.
Place on the lake to be fishing right now either.
Tommy, which would be better? Fishing for a 5-pounder that you can see but just won't bite, or flipping down a reed line and can't get a bite? Which would be better, or which is worse?
That's a matter of personal preference right there. And I'm not a big. I have no skills whatsoever at the sight fishing or the coordination to get it done anyway.
You don't hold your push pole with your
No,
big toe?
no. See, I got to work on that. It's the first thing I got to get going there.
I played baseball with a guy. He took his socks off. He could bend his toes the other way, make a fist with his foot.
Wow. I bet he wasn't a yellow belt like Zona. I bet he was a black belt.
Yeah, he had to be a black
like
belt.
a fist with his foot.
It looked like a fist with his foot the way he had it curled, his toes curled under his foot, sitting there. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Do you ever come at you with an axe handle that way?
No, fortunately
push pole?
not. Or a baseball bat, which he was pretty good with.
I don't understand her, man, because she'll just ease up there and then swim away. I can't get her interested in it.
Biggest question in fishing, should you stay or should you go?
Time
Got a
management.
5-pounder there. He probably doesn't know he could win with that 5-pounder potentially, but he's got to know that 5-pounders aren't going to be easy to come by on a day like today with this weather change.
And what would be your preference between the two?
I would, with the north wind, I would hope that I would know that other guys were struggling, which he probably doesn't. But I would hope that I would know that, sense that, like I think most of these guys do.
Right here.
I'd stay on that 5-pounder that I could see.
She's on the side of the boat.
If she even acted close to like she's catchable. And by that, like I'd say, if she's swimming off and staying gone for a long time, that's not good. If she's just gone for a few seconds, maybe 1 minute, then I'm going to be real patient with her. But if she comes by and stops in for 5 seconds and stays gone for 5 minutes, I wouldn't stay there very long.
How often is switching out baits
I mean, her way.
worth the time invested in that?
If you're not getting bites, I think it's real important to switch it, not only for the fish, but to give you some confidence in the bait that you're using. Like I said this morning with Greg Hackney, that first bite is so crucial to number one, the bait. You found a bait that they're biting, especially if it's a 2-pounder or a 3-pounder or more. You've got confidence in the bait, and then hopefully you can look at the, not just the 1,000 acres of reeds that are in front of you, but the exact spot, a point, a pocket, a little patch of hyacinth, some dollar pads. Get some other clue so you can focus in on it. It took him a while to get that first bite, and then he had his limit in an hour after that. So,
But if I'd seen her nip at that already, there's no use changing baits, right? So
No,
you know
no,
she can
no,
see it
no.
and she will respond to it. It's a waste of your time to
No.
sit there and tie something else on her. Okay.
it's incredible with sight fish though. If they act like they're totally not interested in anything, it's more important to change baits on those fish than it is just like a Greg Hackney flipping down a bank, changing from one jig to the other or one color to the other. Because I've honestly seen during Bassmaster events, might pitch 5 or 6 baits in there, and the fish acts like they don't even see the bait, not even aware, just totally ignore, and then pick up a different bait, pitch in there, and before you can even get it to the bed, the fish just attacks it, just totally sets it off. So every fish is different. Every fish is different. What I have learned, the first thing or one of the things I would do, I'd probably switch baits a couple times. I would back away from that fish, get as far away from it as you can so that fish doesn't see you.
Ah, okay.
Because these fish get fished for every year when they move up there and spawn. There's somebody out there trying to trick them, every single one.
It's showtime now.
He's using that push pole not because he can't use his trolling motor. It's another way to just ease up on those fish without spooking them. Real smart move.
Is that audio coming from that party barge? Is that the other people talking
I
over
hope so.
here?
I think so.
Otherwise, we're hallucinating here.
It looks like Otten gave up on that fish. Oh.
one may call. I was on the bed and had a girlfriend with it or not. It just pitched over and it bit. Boy, jerked, I thought it was old Joe because it didn't move.
Wouldn't be a bad deal if that one did call. There's one male out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. I feel certain he'll pitch back over there. Even though he didn't see a bed, he made that pitch and a male bit. Gonna make a few pitches. Hopefully he had a girlfriend. A big fat girlfriend.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like a 8-pounder.
Oh, it's not red. I don't think. That fish will call. Got a decent little bag, not to have any big ones.
What's it saying he's got? 10?
Yeah.
This will definitely get him over 11.
Yeah, that fish.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely healthy. White's gonna be the one that goes.
Oh, you nailed it.
Yeah, he does help.
Not the black or the blue like Greg Hackney, but
yeah. You're black, you're in trouble. Yeah. If you're in the black ball, you're going out first.
The white ball's going this time.
Anyway. I'm looking for.
Who would have ever thought on day one this guy catches 31 pounds and now he's trying to cull from probably a 1.75 ounce bass to a 2-pound bass might be the winning quarter pound that he needed. Who would have thought that?
Thank you.
Days ago?
If I can get this right here.
Even with that cull, he should still be in third place, but cut that 1.5 pound margin between him and Cliff Prince to probably just 1/2 pound or a pound.
Okay. Prince in second. We haven't seen him in a while. I'd like to check into him. He may be out of range temporarily.
Just got a text from Garrett Dixon on the water. He's near Cliff Prince as well. He said that our bass track numbers of Cliff are right on. He's been catching fish, but he needs that big bite.
Again, Okeechobee. Okeechobee's going to be throwing something at you every day. And boy, it's wound up and thrown a hard one at all these anglers today. Our Hummingbird Lay of the Lake. Let's take another look at this incredible, natural, ancient lake here. 130, only 135 miles of
amazing.
shoreline. I mean, we get 10,000 acre lakes that have way more miles of shoreline.
Lake Murray, my home lake, has 500 miles of shoreline, and it's only 50,000 acres.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable. No creeks to run up for the most part and hide in this one, as you pointed out yesterday. You're exposed, and that's been painfully obvious as far as most of these anglers go today. Half the size of the state of Rhode Island. A very shallow bowl, very much affected by the wind. That's all been pounded home in emphatic fashion today. Been here since 2012, but it was Ish Monroe after going way down on his weights on day number 3, down from 18, from 25 and 30 pound stringers to knocking out 34 pounds on the final day. Sure not looking like that sort of a scenario is going to play out today.
But you know what? I always try to remind people they're going to pay the same money. It's going to be $100,000. Timmy's hooked up.
Number 4.
Fish 4 for Timmy.
Yeah. Only looks like the fish weighs a pound, but that could be the pound that he needs. Just 1 pound is going to be so cool. Oh, the male.
No, 99% sure he won't help.
Now in that situation, Davey, would you have tried to keep that even if it didn't cull, just to try to get that bigger one?
He's
and
got
risk
his
that?
limit, doesn't he?
Yes.
He can't keep that fish.
Why couldn't he keep that?
He can't keep 6.
No, but he would
the
throw
boat.
one back. That's what I'm
I
saying,
wouldn't
like
throw-
cull
I
down a
certainly, it's
quarter
tough-
pound. No.
yeah,
he doesn't
Good
know what
question,
Timmy's
but I can answer that one quick. As tough as today is, the bigger fish are staying in the boat. I'm a gambling man, but not that much of a gambling man.
Need some of the big ones to go on their Sunday
a-
drive.
That's a thought. Some guys might do that. I wouldn't gamble quite like that.
Do a false
Well,
cull.
and it depends. It depends if it's a 5-pounder by what he sees, and it might be an 8. He might be like, oh, but if it's a 5-pounder, he might take that risk of putting that one back in the bed.
Caught that giant. Wind's hammering it right now, though. I feel like it's easing up some.
Speaking about the male, when you keep the male and the female on the bed like that, Ronnie, I've caught the male before, and be in that situation where you can't keep him because you've got your 5 fish limit. It's against the bass rules to possess more than 5 fish. Have the boat pointed directly towards the bed and be, 50 feet, 15, 20 yards, 15 yards probably
about
away
7
from the bed.
pounds.
Walk to the back of the boat to get him a little further away, let the fish go. And before I can walk up and make a next cast, the male will be back up on the bed.
That's why I was wondering if you keep him so he can't do that, but sometimes you can obviously catch the female while the male's still there. Because like he said, he stung him. Maybe the fish won't come and bite the bait anymore.
Dick Cepek trivia. We
Get to
laid
10.
this out a few
There we
minutes
go.
ago. How long did Tim Horton actually fish on the final day of his last elite victory, 2007 victory? What did our fans come up with? Who liked what? It's really a very similar times to choose from there. So, all right, Voodoo Bass in 45 minutes. All right, we'll see how that one stands up. Must go fishing. B. Answer B.
A was 30 minutes.
A was 30
approximately
minutes.
45. B was 45.
45. Yep.
D, hour and 20 minutes.
Making a long run. Remember that. 1 hour. That's what I'm going with. C, 1 hour.
Yeah, Horton
Pitch and
launched
go.
at 5:40, had to go 90 miles.
Are you calculating that into the actual time
Oh,
he
yeah.
fished?
No, that's not
just
time he
strictly
fished. Just
time
when
and-
he
yeah,
stopped
fishing.
and was fishing.
All right,
He caught
C.
19.4,
1
had
hour
to
is
drive
my
back.
pick.
He was back there he was there by 10 a.m. back at the dock.
1 hour, C.
1 hour, C.
Look at
Did
there.
that work? Ah, look at C. Yeah. Oh, man.
Take you to go 90 miles, though.
It depends on Lake Champlain. It could be
Right, exactly.
Oh, man, I've been on some rides on
be
Lake
an hour
Champlain.
and
where
20 minutes, or it could be 4 days.
if you took me 90 miles in 2 hours on some days in Lake Champlain, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Exactly.
He beat Skeet Reese by 12 pounds, 13 ounces that day, but Skeet Reese jumped over KVD for the AOI that he won that year.
I was on Lake Champlain last year for the Northern Opens. That was one of the 3 venues that the guys had to do to try to qualify. And Lake Champlain was beautiful, flat, calm for 2 straight days. And that final day, it showed exactly what the inland sea. It looked like an inland sea. They call it the inland sea. It was the roughest I've been on a lake in years. And those top 12 had to fight through that.
It's the most formidable Great Lake in the United States that's not actually one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah. Look at the shoreline there in front of Ott. He mentioned about that waterfall. Now you can see where there's no vegetation, just mud. That happened overnight.
Wow.
Stephen Browning hooked up.
Look at that. That's talent right there. Never had a hook in him. Jammed it up in his mouth, man. Boy, he just bit like he had something to him, you know.
Number 3.
You see, you know, they using those coil clips. You would think they'd go, look, man, this dude's not punching but one hole in you. Pretty cool cat. Really, really taking in concern to us. Need some truck tires. Man, y'all, come on. Let's everybody pull together. Oh, now technically, I guess that was a fair catch because the hook was in the mouth, but it did not penetrate. Huh. Trip, you're gonna have to review that one. If I win by an ounce and that fish is still in my box, it could be questionable.
He's talking about the sight fishing rule that you have to, the fish has to be hooked from the inside of the mouth, can't be hooked outside the mouth. And I don't think he's sight fishing, so it doesn't matter. But if he were sight fishing, he's saying that the fish wasn't even hooked. So he technically wasn't hooked inside the mouth, but he wasn't foul hooked either.
But he had the bait in his mouth.
It'd be a great one to hire a couple lawyers to debate.
Oh, man, yeah. There's a few that would jump at it. Take a quick break right here. Stephen Browning with much needed fish number 3. Is it about time for, got a lot of that today.
God dang it.
We've been watching him the last few days. He almost probably hasn't missed 3 fish the whole week, and we've seen him miss about 10. It's not his fault. He knows what a bite feels like. Those fish just aren't eating the bait today because of that north wind.
Absolutely. Like you say, these guys are having to earn it today. Who would be the man to grab onto the trophy? Well, have done his job and a little extra on this very difficult final day at Okeechobee. Second stop of the year, the Bassmaster Elite Series. So important to do well here, and these guys have gotten the job done all week long.
Timmy trying to hold on.
4 fish for Tim Horton right now. It's going to be so meaningful for him, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
For your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Facts matter. all monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Like we said yesterday, back in the day, you would go for a whole season and cap that season off with a Bassmaster Classic. For the last decade or so, we've been doing it the other way around, kicking off the season, getting it rolling with the biggest event of the year, and this year's something different still. 2 events right in the middle of number 2 right now. And then we have the Bassmaster Classic, and folks, it is coming up on us fast. It will be here before you know it. From Houston, Texas, the Bayou City there, 4th largest market in the United States. We go up 45 miles, Interstate 45 to that place right there, Lake Conroe. Looking for action like this. It's incredible scenes of the Bassmaster Classic. Everything on the line. A life-changing experience for the angler who wins it. No one who wants to have a top resume in the sport of bass fishing doesn't think about the Bassmaster Classic all season long. We work hard to be Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. Some guys weight it a little more. Find a lot of people who weight that Classic up there top. Maybe where are you?
It's the greatest accomplishment in our sport. There's no doubt about it. Winning the Bassmaster Classic. A lot of fishermen think, that fish a trail all the time, think that winning Angler of the Year, and it is the toughest maybe, but the title of Bassmaster Classic World Champion will always carry with you. It's a life changer, no doubt.
Fantastic facility known as Minute Maid Park, where you see the Astros play. That's where we'll have our weigh-ins each and every day. March 24th, 25th, and 26th. On that day, we'll crown our world champion. See who's life change in Houston this time around. Moments ago, Stephen Browning.
Wow. Got that one in the boat quick.
You liked that, didn't you, Wes? I said, Wes, get ready. Wes said, he was born ready. And I said, yeah, he is. You gotta love it. You big mule, you. I mean, you're big one. Beautiful, beautiful Florida strand bass, 100%.
I'm not sure Stephen realized how tough it is for so many guys today.
Absolutely.
He's making dollars with every one of those little small keepers he puts in the boat.
Moving up
every single one.
Just a little bit.
But when you've been catching 30 a day, like I think he has for the few days we've been on him, and a lot of them nice quality fish, it's hard to think that a 1.5 to 2 pound fish is going to make such a difference.
I thought a while ago, I was like, this water right in here looks good. Shallow, still looks good, but
update our Bass Track leaderboard in just a few minutes here. Been even more changes out there on the water. Again, Timmy Horton back in the lead.
Every day the last hour or two has been terrific. There's been several guys catch 7 to 9 pound fish. A couple of the guys here that we're watching today.
27 is the biggest bag I've ever caught on this lake. And that was that day I had the 815. I've never caught a 30. I should have caught 30 that day. I lost the first 25 pounds. Bending the hooks.
Well, you're talking about this window for catching the big one. There's been
you see it.
We got a 7.5 reported from Fletcher Schreier.
Wow.
Put him in second place as it stands right now. 2 pounds and 14 ounces behind Timmy Horton. Fletcher looking for his first Elite Series win, and he has been super. I mean, he's played this place like a master this week. He has been super
He's
consistent.
been consistent. He really has. We've talked
Absolutely.
about Greg Hackney, but he's been consistent also.
last thing before we get off Shryock, he's been super consistent, like you said, 17, 20, almost 19, and then over 19 today. So certainly waiting for that maybe mid 20-pound bag today.
Tommy, coming into today, the guy, obviously, Timmy Horton has caught the bigger fish, not as many as some of these guys, but you knew eventually the numbers game was going to really be in Stephen Browning's favor and Ott Defoe. These guys are just getting so many bites, and you always can be around. If you're around fish, you can potentially be around an 8-pounder. So you just got to keep on catching those numbers, keep on trying to have that big bite.
Let's go ahead and make Stephen Browning at this point our power pole replay of the day, because it has been a day for him, up and down. These guys are having to earn their money today, that is for sure. Stephen Browning having a ball yesterday, catching them at will. It was just so fun, so joyful to get up there in the boat with him. Browning! But after a while, you see enough of those and you start feeling for the guy.
Well, he's frustrated at himself, but it's not his fault.
No.
The previous days, every time he set the hook, he would hook up and landed just about every single one of them. Those fish, that north wind, just a little cool front coming in here, these fish are just not eating the bait, but you just got to keep on jerking when they bite.
Oh, God. Oh, it was so long before he got one to finally hang in there. Stephen Browning looking for his 4th Bassmaster victory.
There's the reward.
Right there. Finally, we get one in the boat there for Stephen.
That was all.
Maybe that wind laid down just enough to where he could get his little finesse rig down there where it looked right to these fish, but whatever the change was, it wasn't long before he got 4 fish almost to a limit.
Very, very important fish. Number one, every spot he moves up is dollar bills, as he was mentioning earlier. The other thing, every point that you can gain, whether it's the second tournament or the last tournament, will help you in the AOI standings to make the Bassmaster Classic. And last but not least, get those 5 keepers in the boat. When you catch that big fish, you got a chance to win.
Back out to Timmy Horton, still our leader. Fletcher Shryock, the guy he's trying to stay ahead of now.
Today we've had, how many, like 5 different names right there behind Timmy or just above, but he keeps fending them off.
Cliff Prince, Ott Defoe, Bobby Lane, Dave Lefebvre, they've all been right behind Timmy Horton during the course of this day.
He's got 4 in the box, that's enough right now. I think it'll take at least one more keeper for him to have a good chance to keep these guys from taking the lead from him. Ronnie, do we know what Fletcher's smallest fish is? Because that matters. You always talk about the big fish, but
let me look that up right now while we watch Timmy Horton.
If his smallest fish is like 3 or 4 pounds, but if he might have one in there that weighs a pound. If he catches just a 3-pounder.
He caught a 2.5 right after that and didn't call.
Okay.
That tells us.
That tells us that it's bigger than 2.5.
Yep.
Good stuff. That's what makes it hard when somebody makes that move on the final day. When they get to a certain point, and this point a couple days ago, 19 pounds, well, there's guys catching 30, but today, Timmy's hooked up, looks like a little bit bigger fish.
Number 5.
It is.
Number 5. Number 5.
It's the biggest of the day, it seems.
Yep. That could be the winning fish.
That's huge right there.
That could be the winning
huge
fish
for Tim Horton.
Sure was excited to get that, wasn't he? Number 5.
Yep.
Number 5.
I looked at Fletcher Shryock's numbers. He's got that 7.5, a 3.5, and 3 3-pounders. So he's got 1 giant and 4 really solid fish.
we're looking at right now, that unofficial board does not reflect that last fish we saw right there. So it's going to be a little bit different than that.
He should be near 80, yeah. Dave, are they going to get 100 today or not?
You
decide
guys,
now.
I've been saying all week, if we have a cold front, it's going to be tough on to break that.
Oh, yeah,
central
you
mark.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. We probably have a lot of viewers today that weren't with us the last few days and haven't heard me say that. I know you guys heard me.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely we did. You won't shut up about it, as a matter of fact.
I feel like they help.
Give me that again, what you add to it.
Well, anytime I'm flipping heavy cover and I'm hopping that bait a lot, you know, lifting it up and down, I like rattles. I think it, I really truly believe it gets you a couple extra bites. You know what I'm saying? It'll generate a bite that you might normally not get with a silent bait. You know.
You see the whole rig in your hand there?
That's it. That's about as simple as it gets. You know, for something to fish with. I mean, it's a jig head and a hook, and of course now this one's special because it's got great big hardware, but I mean, that's about as simple a bait as made as a jig. But you know, a piece of plastic typically gets more bites, but jig is good on quality when fish seem like they want something bulky, and the hookup is so good on it. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, he's obviously a big fan of a jig. Won probably $1 million on a jig alone.
Oh my gosh.
Or more.
You figure.
It'd make me a fan.
I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I lifted it, boy, and it was welded. And I mean, and when I stuck him, I was like, well, it ain't gonna be a 7 or 8 pounder, but it looks like a 4 or 5, you know.
Here's our new board right there, and Timmy Horton with
You were right, it was 4 or 5.
Yeah, it was a 4 or 5. It was the.
I don't think that's been updated yet.
No, it's not. It's not been. Okay, sorry.
It should be kicking in just a second. It was entered a minute or two ago.
On my iPad here, I got him at 20 fish, 81 pounds. That's 78.14.
Okay,
that 81 adds the other fish, which is tough a day as Timmy's had. And guys like Fletcher catching the 7 pounder, he still got him almost a 5.5 pound lead.
Holding him at bay. That's all he's got to do throughout this day.
I was like, well, maybe they back here in this back trail.
There we go. Now we got on the screen looking right.
81.6. Still got a big lead.
We've seen 3 bags today above 17 pounds, and it's coming from the 8th place angler, the 10th place angler, and the 12th place angler. So guys who maybe weren't in it, but now are going to gain themselves a couple $1,000 extra dollars. They might not win it, but they're going to be in the top, 6 or 7 if the weights stay similar.
Dollars and points. Dollars and points.
Yes, sir.
For anybody who doesn't know, $100,000 to first place, $25,000 to second, 20 for third, 15 for fourth, and then $14,000 and $500 increments down to 12th.
Down to 12, okay.
Cliff Prince catch a 7-pounder on the last flip today.
Yep. Shoot.
Might
kidding
see
me?
a Palatka boy dance on stage.
7-pounder and shut her down right now. That's your champion, Cliff Prince.
He might do his patented two-word phrase after landing that fish as well.
Yeah, you know what? It's all heart. It's all about feeling.
Exactly. It's real.
It is
That's why
real.
you watch this stuff live.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get to see the real, unrehearsed.
Real, yes, the unvarnished truth.
Timmy caught him a big one real late yesterday too to keep that lead.
It wouldn't. I didn't even say that much. Just told him, don't run your trolling. Just sit still, man. Be calm.
Talked about, of course, our second place guys, Fletcher Shryock, on the strength of a 7.5 pounder estimated. Just rang up on his total there. Not one of our 5 live here today, but there's a
Huge
good shot
fish
of it right
for
there.
today.
That's a good one. Ooh,
huge fish.
And who knows, that big bass window that opened up yesterday may crack open for maybe a limited extent today. Might happen a little later. The wind continues to die down. I don't think it's quite as strong as it has been.
No, it looks like it's definitely laying down.
Moderated some.
Browning hooked up.
I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Oh my gosh, we might have done it. That could have done it right there. There's a chance. We could have 5 for 5, because that one right there is gonna cut into that pound average that I've had, you know. I mean, that dude right there is a 14, maybe 15 ounces. Yeah.
We've got the Rapala 5 live, but we didn't know we were going to have the Rapala 5-4 live. 5-4-5.
That was a big one.
Rapala probably doesn't want to claim that one.
Drifting back.
No, they catch bigger fish.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Steven didn't want to claim it either, but when he finds out that fish may have made him a few $1,000s, he'll love that fish.
No doubt.
He did have it in the grass. I've got grass on my eye, my hook. Human highlight film right there, baby. I mean to tell you.
Bo Browning's sitting there watching, saying, Dad, that's another rod and reel combo for me with that money that fish just made you.
There you go. You can worry about your truck tires later.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with those tires.
Nah, they look fine.
I need a rod and reel.
I'm on every single bed. I mean, every one of them.
Well, Fletcher Shryock, that one fish could double his 8th place, 12,500 to 25,000 for second place.
Sure.
Some nice walking around money right there.
It maybe be his highest finish ever. Is he?
I think it might have been, except his win at Norman.
If he's able to. In an open. I'm thinking of
In an
these.
open, yeah.
Good point.
I mean, how do anglers look at the top 3 finish? I know they hate being second and not winning, but
I usually look back when I get asked that or ask about finishing second. It all depends on what point in your career you're in. If it's your highest finish ever, it's your greatest accomplishment. When I finished second in the Bassmaster Classic before I had won one, I thought it was the worst day of my career. It turns out to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all put in perspective. I make a special point to try to talk to every Classic second place finisher since that point, especially if they haven't won one like I was and you're going to beat yourself up on the short term for the short term, but it was really the launching point in my career.
Yeah.
So it could be the best thing that ever happened, even though right at the moment it feels like somebody stuck a knife in between my shoulders because I thought I had maybe won the thing and didn't. But
this
could be a positive thing, having a high finish.
This would be, it looks like for Elite Series competition, this is Fletcher's third top 12. He has gotten 11th and 12th in his prior two, so this will be his first top 10.
It'd be great.
By far. Yeah.
He's got an Opens win to his credit at Lake Norman, and he's got a second in an Open at Lake St. Clair. One thing worth noting, he did finish here at Okeechobee 13th place when they had that wild card that Chad Morgan-Taylor won in 2013, the wild card. He finished 13th and narrowly missed out on the final day.
First ever tournament was at Kissimmee, and he was 161st. I remember talking to him after his Norman win and him just saying, you know, everybody's saying, you're a fool for paying that much entry money, and he's like, nope, not now.
That unfortunate phrase, nobody remembers who finished second at the Classic. It's not really true. I think everybody can tell you who finished second at the Classic last year.
Yeah. And I was going to say, especially if it's you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's who it matters to.
You're right, though, Tommy. I would think that other than Jim Bitter's second place finish, Jason Christie's second place will be the second most remembered second place finish.
Second most. There you go. Now you got it.
Because of Jim Bitter having the fish in the boat, slipped out of his hands and flipped over in the water. You got to remember that.
Oh, man. That video will never die. That is for sure. We're going to take a little break here in our action. An hour and a half more of Bassmaster Live coming your way. These anglers maybe 2 hours away from weigh-in time, 2.5 for some of them. Tim Horton hanging on top there. In fact, extending his lead now that he's got 5 in the box. That is huge. Fletcher Shryock looking at his first Bassmaster Elite Series win. He jumps a 5 or 6 pounder. No telling what the outcome might be. A lot of business to take care of when we come back. Don't go away.
If you love bass fishing, then show your support by joining B.A.S.S today. Since 1968, B.A.S.S has been serving bass fishing enthusiasts with information and tournament coverage that make you a better angler. When you sign up today, you'll join over 500,000 outdoorsmen who love bass fishing. With your membership, you'll receive every issue of Bassmaster magazine, plus $50 in free gear, including a membership tackle bag, B.A.S.S cap, plus more. Log on to Bassmaster.com to join Bass today.
Man, it's slow today. Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish. Good job, Sophie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
The competition is fierce and the prizes are huge. The only thing missing is you. Fantasy Fishing presented by Toyota. Sign up for free and face fans from across the nation. Grand prize winner receives a Triton Yamaha package including a Triton 189 TRX. MSRP of $37,293. The Classic and each individual Elite event winner will receive $2,500 Bass Pro Shops gift cards, with the runner-up receiving a GoPro Hero 4 Black camera. Sign up and pick your team today at Bassmasterfantasy.com.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S. history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Oh, yeah! Awesome. Awesome. Yes! Woo! It's a big one. Giant. Boom! Dude, and I just got a hook in my hand. Right here. That's bad. Don't tell me, just do it. Just like that. Got it. That's a big one, big one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that makes me happy right there. That's a big one. Woo! What's going on here, man? What's up with that? Yes! Yes! Come on, give me some, baby. Give me some. Yes! Those are the kind we need right there. Yeah! Nice! Yes, sir. He's got it good. Big one, big one. Yes! 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 Yeah, boys! Oh, stay on there! Yeah! That's what we after right there, boys.
31 pounds, 7 ounces. The legendary Mr. Rick Clun knocks for lights out. Ricky Clun gets it done. From Lake Wiley, South Carolina, Britt Meyer. 5 pounds, 13 ounces. Britt Meyer smashes him in front of his hometown crowd. Your champion, ladies and gentlemen. Let me hear it for Randall Tharp. 16 pounds and 2 ounces. The Honey Badger hammers him on Championship Sunday. Get loud for Takahiro Amore. 16 pounds, 10 ounces. Takahiro Amore, your champion from Kalamazoo, Michigan. KVD, Kevin Van Dam. 21 pounds, 6 ounces. KVD gets it done with win number 21. The Hack Attack whacks him on Championship Sunday. Your champion, Greg Hackney. 12 pounds, 10 ounces. KVD gets it done. 19 pounds, 13 ounces. Justin Lucas lays the lugger to the Potomac River. 12 pounds and an ounce. Defoe is an Elite Series champion. Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. The G-Man gets it done and finishes in spot number 1.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash. Plus a Triton 17 TX bass boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
What is this meeting about again?
Fishing! Took my boat, boom, jumped over it, and I caught a giant. It was like a whale.
29 pounds, baby!
That's the last time I danced on stage.
Wow. Chief Fishing Officer. How do I get that job? I don't know. Go to teamgtfishing.com to find out more about my real job.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee.
But I never lost a
Brought
lead
to
but
you
one time
live
in my
by
whole career.
Hook.
So those seconds were on the down slow. They were on the up slow.
Here we go, Bassmaster Live. We are back with you. Plenty of time left for big-time changes on that leaderboard. And here's Stephen Browning. After having just snagged a limit. Another hookup again.
Nice one.
That one might cull something. I think it will if he talked about 5 for 5. I think that's a definite upgrade right there.
That will help. That will help. Maybe you have the set of tires and bow,
Yeah,
a new rod and reel
take care of
combo.
both of them. Hey,
Don't
you
forget
know-
Tammy needs a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, Christmas in February. That's what we're looking at right now.
I've caught more than a pound and a half.
That'll help him probably a half pound, don't you think, Tommy?
Oh, got to.
All good. You're all good. There he is. Look at that coal. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Got off at 5 pounds, I can tell you that right now. Maybe you got about 5.5, I'd say.
That fish right there made him money. Who would
Yeah,
have thought
absolutely.
that a few days ago when he was throwing back 4-pounders?
That's called rat cash right there.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Time for the Yamaha Taste the Bait time. We saw Greg Hackney give us a good look at what he was using right there, and I know we're going to take a little deeper look at what that is right there, the nuts and bolts of it.
We are probably in my career, that bait, one similar to that, not that exact one, but a jig is just a big fish bait that all of the elite guys use. Greg Hackney is certainly known as one of the best jig fishermen in the business, if not the best jig fisherman currently in the business. He's fishing a bait very similar to this, a little bit heavier than this, but it's a Strike King Hack Attack jig, black blue. He's got a Rage Crawl trailer on there, a lot of action, and we saw him. This one doesn't have it, but right here he talked about the bait putting the rattle on here. That he had the 2 little rattles he put up there on a rubber band, and it's interesting to see Greg fish this bait because it doesn't penetrate that cover as well as the baits that Timmy is using, that Dean Rojas is using, most of the other guys. That tungsten weight that we talked about yesterday on a Texas rig goes through that cover a lot better. The difference is in that bait and this bait has a bulkier profile, which usually gets you those bigger bites. The bigger fish just can't stand that bulky bait in their nest. The other thing that makes it different is this skirt has the action, even though you've got that bait sitting on the bottom, or when you shake that bait a little bit, it flares and just gives it even a bigger profile. So a couple things. The main thing is the profile of this bait going in that cover. If the cover's not really, really thick, which this year we've talked about all week, this year the cover that they're fishing is more sparse, not quite as thick as in 2012. So you can use this bait. But if you look back, Chris Lane, Ish Monroe, those guys were pitching jigs, but those fish were set up outside on some sparse cover, even though there was a hard line on the outside edge that they fished. I talked to Chris Lane a lot last night. He was driving home. He said, man, the only thing I did wrong, but it cost me, I stuck to the outside of the hard line, like where I caught him before. Fishing memories maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
He said he fished right outside of where Timmy Horton caught all his fish in practice. He was 30 yards, but he was 30 yards outside of him. But this big jig, Lake Okeechobee, every time we've come here, the last 3 or 4 times, big fish, guys that are in the top 5 or so, always uses this bait.
All right, we got even a little bit more out of Greg Hackney on this very subject just a little bit ago. Let's take a look at that.
Well, anytime I'm flipping heavy cover and I'm hopping that bait a lot, you know, lifting it up and down, I like rattles. I think it, I really truly believe it gets you a couple extra bites. You know what I'm saying? It'll generate a bite that you might normally not get with a silent bait. You know.
See the whole rig in your hand there.
That's it. That's about as simple as it gets. You know, for something to fish with. I mean, it's a jig head and a hook, and of course now this one's special because it's got great big hardware, but I mean, that's about as simple a bait as made as a jig. But you know, a piece of plastic typically gets more bites, but jig is good on quality when fish seem like they want something bulky, and the hookup is so good on it. I'm a big fan.
So the trade-off, it's a little harder to get through that mat than what we saw Timmy using there, but that flare, you're looking for something that startles that fish and makes it react instantly, right?
They're bigger fish. Bigger fish.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we've been saying it all week, 5 fish. Even though the guys are catching 30 a day, you can only weigh in 5. You want those 5 bigger fish, and that Hack Attack jig, we've seen it, you know, win Greg a lot of money catching those bigger fish. Some of those tournaments that he's won over the last few years, he's getting 5 or 6 bites a day, less than 1 bite an hour. Most people don't have patience enough to fish for 1 bite an hour or even less. But when you know the size fish and you're going for the wins, that's the bait the guys really like to use. It's been the bait that's won me the most money in my career also.
All right, that's our Yamaha Taste the Bait for today. Ronnie Moore, this is out of the blue, but do we know if Greg Hackney caught any of his big fish yesterday in the last hour or two of fishing?
No, I think he had topped out at like 23 and a half, 24 pounds on Bass Truck. We found out at weigh, and that was, you know, high 21s. But no, it looked like he did a lot of his work during that early portion and midday, but he didn't really make any big culls in that afternoon. Looks like Ott's on a completely different lake with how calm it is back in his area compared to Timmy sitting out here and everybody else.
He has an uncanny ability. I mean, yesterday, all day long, you never saw a single ripple on the water. He was in a bathtub all day long.
Do you notice how softly he's walking? The no shoes thing, you know, we've been having fun. We've been having fun with that, but there's some merit to that. Mm-hmm. He knows that shallow, still water is where he can find a bedding fish, but he also knows how important it is in that shallow, clear water to move around as quietly as you possibly can.
I would say 90% of all fishermen happily go through life without knowing how many they've spooked with just about everything they do, and that's just fine. But you got a great set of eyes, you're attuned to it like a guy like Ott Defo, then you know.
You sure do. You sure do. I agree. If we only knew how many fish we have spooked by making noise or with our trolling motor, plowing through grass,
opening, shutting things. And
Yep. And
you'll note that Ott now has moved ahead of Fletcher Schreier into second place, just barely, just a few ounces. Margin of error probably take care of that.
Yeah, Bass Track had him for 3:12 several minutes ago, and we have our funny tweeters saying that Ott's Toe has already been sponsored.
Well, he's got 9 more of them, so it could be a big payday in the future.
Ott de Toe.
Ott de Toe. You were going to go there, weren't you? Yeah. You were going to do it.
You can tell it's Sunday afternoon. Ott de Toe.
Ott de Toe, yep.
If you're wondering if Sukan's going to go there on most things, he'll probably go there.
He's going to go, just assume.
But
go there.
it's good. It breaks the ice.
We kind of knew that, yeah. All right.
He's ready. If you're wondering why he's standing on his trolling motor bracket, to just get a few inches higher, to be able to see just a little farther, it makes a difference, just those few inches. There's a rule against having a platform on your boat to get you higher. A lot of guys would do it. I think it was Roland Martin that built a platform and fished one tournament. And they made a new rule.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't fish off of a platform. You can use what's in your boat to get a few inches higher. But
You can see I've got a foot up on the mount right here. It just gets me just that much higher. It's another 8 inches, 6-8 inches probably. That you know, the taller you are, the better you can see when you're trying to see fish on the bed. If we were allowed to use a platform, I would, but we're not.
Hit the nail on the head right there, Davey.
I get lucky every once in a while.
It makes it where you can see really, really good.
One of our questions yesterday was why these guys aren't throwing swim baits. It's the first swim bait I've seen a guy throw. Ott's thrown everything in his boat this week, I think, and
No doubt.
I would guess he's throwing the swim bait around trying to get a fish to show themselves or expose itself off the bed. Maybe not even eat the swim bait, but
maybe just even tilt on the side enough to see a flash or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you said this area he's probably in, just like most Okeechobee's got a black bottom, so you're not going to see the black back of that fish unless it moves.
You'll see these bright, shiny beds, and you think, wow, what a bass bed, and they're normally tilapia beds. Those bass don't make the big, bright, shiny beds, especially on this lake. So one of the, probably, you know, I haven't fished all lakes in Florida, but one of the toughest to see a bed and fish. Lake Okeechobee, for sure.
Since then, she's just kind of grown cold.
Oh, he's throwing it to one fish, trying to get her excited with that swim bait.
We've seen Ott cash in with a swim bait just last year when he won in La Crosse, Wisconsin on a swim bait.
They're at the Onalaska Lowhead Dam there, fishing right in the middle of a crowd.
Do you remember if he had his shoes on then or not?
I think he did have his shoes on.
It was a tad wet that week too, in that rainstorm.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I've been in this situation before. It's exciting, but so frustrating at the same time. You're looking at a fish that will certainly make $75,000 difference in your payday at the end of the day. Second place being 25, which he's in. First place being 100. To go along with the title, and you're looking at her, trying to get that one fish to bite. Gonna pull another carbon light rod out of the rod box.
Yeah,
Only got about 10 out there.
It's an avalanche of rods here on the deck right now.
One in, two out. That's what I usually do.
Such, here's a trivia for you. What does OT stand for? What is OT short for? What is it diminutive of?
Arthur.
Ronnie snatching the bait away from Such right.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And he's junior, isn't it? Isn't his dad's name Arthur as well?
That I don't know.
I think that somebody said that's like. We saw him at Cherokee.
Yep.
We saw him there.
Yep.
I was busy reading Steve Wright. He came up with a sweet stat of Timmy Horton's victory on Okeechobee in 2004. He started with a big bag of 33.10, had 25.10 on day 2. He had an 11-pound lead over Hackney, and he only got 6.10 on the final day, but he won.
Wow. Why does that sound familiar?
He's reliving it, maybe.
Maybe.
25 and 28, but for the fish to be as stinking finicky as they are, man, it stinks. You know? It really doesn't. I mean, it doesn't tell you a stinking thing except that you got around them when you got around that group when that group was biting. And the deal is, most of the time when you catch a big bag, it's not like it's one here, one there, one over there, one. It's like they're all right there, you know? Yep. And then it's hard to go, yeah, I mean, you can't go right back to that same area you fished the day before and go, well, shoot, man, I cracked me 25 here yesterday. I'm gonna go in there and get me 25 more today. Here we go. I may have some shoulders, no? Oh, did you see that? I think he spit that worm out. I thought he may have.
Yeah, Cinco came out of his mouth.
It looked like something.
Either Stevens or somebody else's. It flew out of his mouth.
Something did come out. You spit my worm out, boy. No fun with 5, is there? 2. Number 2, cookie cutters. 4. Number 4. I believe.
Talking about the worm coming out of his mouth right there. Let's take. I think we got a little re-rack of this right now. We want to look at it real quick and see exactly what happened. Go slow. There it is.
There it is.
Bing.
Do you recognize that worm?
Is this your worm?
The one thing you know when that happens, you've been fishing an area where there's been a lot of pressure when the fish you're catching have other people's soft plastic baits, maybe his, but probably someone else's, in their mouth when you catch them. You think they see a few baits around the monkey box on Lake Okeechobee?
Quick story, I was at Sam Rayburn in January for the college event, and a team weighed in like a 7-pounder and held it up for photos, and there was about a 10-inch worm hanging out of the fish's bowels. It had digested the worm and it was coming out. So it wasn't in his mouth still hooked. He had already digested the whole worm.
You still got to keep the weight of that worm, right?
It was hanging there. I wasn't going to pull it out. The anglers didn't want to pull it out.
I don't know if you're qualified.
No, I'm not touching that worm.
Well, at least it wasn't a crankbait.
That fish might have been in some pain then.
Oh.
What's going on in Timmy's mind right now? I bet he doesn't realize he's got a 5-pound lead. He's thinking, I can't believe this is happening to me, when he's really still way ahead of the field.
And the question is, did he know back in 2004 when that happened to him? He caught about as much weight on the final day and still won.
Yep. Ready? Yep. And I'm gonna say we got, I don't know, 9 or 10 pounds, probably closer to 9, maybe, I don't know. And I've got a place I feel good about we're gonna finish up on, but it's a small place, so I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it. And the longer we wait, maybe the wind will lay a little bit more. It's slowly but surely letting down, but where the place is exposed to the wind. It shouldn't have the watercolor messed up none because of the location, but I really need it to lay down. And if we can just get a couple of more of those nice ones that are close to 3 pounds before we leave out, it'll make a huge difference. And then maybe get one of those big ones to bite. Finished up there yesterday and caught that 6-pounder, 513, whatever it was, with about 3 minutes to go. And just plugging away at it. It's gonna stay busy.
Stay busy, that's all you can do. All you can do.
You don't hear from his tone of voice that he thinks he's out of it.
He really
I think
does.
he, like you say, he's one of those guys who's been around long enough to know that everybody's fighting it today.
Yep.
How hard is that, Davey, when you are struggling like Timmy is, thinks he has 9 or 10 pounds, to not go to that special spot that you're saving too early? You know, how to resist and have the patience knowing that, you know, it'll probably be better later. If I go there now, it'll break my confidence even more.
Well, for him, being a veteran, not real hard. It would be tough. You know, the younger you might be, although we've got some great rookies this year. The best field ever It certainly appears to be, but he's thinking everything through. There's several reasons why it's best to wait till late. Like you mentioned, the bite that he had yesterday right before weigh in, the wind dying down, it should really come together, but he knows it's going to be tough. I'm not so sure he has any idea he's still 5 pounds ahead. He probably thinks I've got to catch a 3 or 4 pounder either out here in this hydrilla or where he finished up yesterday when he caught that was almost 6. Boy, I hope Hot gets his fish to bite just so we can see how big he is for sure.
Love to see that, and he's done it again. He's found the quietest water on all 730 square miles of Lake Okeechobee.
And we've seen him catch fish on so many different baits, but this is the first time I've seen him with a spinning rod in his hand, isn't it?
You're right. You're right.
At least we got great service on number 1 and number 2 right now. It was a little tough this morning first thing, but
that's an upgrade.
One of them get that big bite, we're gonna be able to see it.
Where she is.
I think I just heard Ott say, I don't know where she is. It's so hard to see these fish. You want to get closer and closer to them so you can make sure they're there. But unfortunately, when you get just close enough to see her, it's usually because you spooked her and she's swimming away. It's just so tough to see these fish at Lake Okeechobee when they're on the beds.
That's why Shaw lost that 8 pounder. He couldn't see it, but he could feel it, and he thought it was biting it, but he
It probably was, but just didn't have it down in his mouth enough. He probably did bite it,
and then
yeah, but just not down in the inside the mouth. I had the same thing happen to me at Santee Cooper years back. 8 pounder that would have meant so much for me, and I could see the fish gill flared. The fish bit the bait, but hooked it on the outside of the mouth with a jig. Had to let her go.
She did that to that wacky worm, dude, and I ain't seen her. I don't know if she hit it and realized what it was and said, heck with this, or what.
I think he's getting up there a little closer just to see if she's still there.
Right there she is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there she is.
Music up, break on the way. Ott fixing to move in a little closer on that bed and fish right there. Little Dick C-Peck trivia for you right here as we head to break. Lake Okeechobee can lose up to 1 inch of water per day, which is the most responsible. Caloosahatchee River, St. Lucie Canal, evapotranspiration, whatever that is, or draining into the Everglades. Draining into the Everglades. Pick one, let us know what you think.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Shell Rotella, Yamaha, Triton Boats, Toyota, Power Pole, and by Skeeter Boats. Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy Save Fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy Save Fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
For your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Launching into the final hour of Bassmaster Live here from Okeechobee. Everyone wants to feel like part of the inner circle. Let me let you in on a little secret. They're going to contest the World Championship of Fishing in just 1 month's time. If you haven't heard yet, write it down. Houston, Texas, March 24th, 25th, and 26th. Of course, everyone knows that's when the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic is going to roll out. 3 days that go by very, very fast. At the end of it, a world champion. Someone whose life has changed, someone whose resume is, for the most part, complete. All the crowds will be there. Minute Maid Park, home of the Astros, giving way to the sport of bass fishing for 3 days. That'll be awesome to be a part of.
And if you've never been to a Bassmaster Classic, maybe it's never been in your area, you certainly need to go see one. It's the greatest show in the sport. Everyone that I've ever talked to that's gone to a Bassmaster Classic as a spectator has had a great time.
First time in Houston, great opportunity for everyone. East Texas, Southeast Texas, coming from all parts of the country usually for a classic. Get you back out on the lake. Hey, Dick Seepeck trivia. That was quite a question there. A lot of $3 words in our options there. Caloosahatchee River, St. Lucie Canal, evapotranspiration or drainage into the Everglades. Which one of those can cause Lake Okeechobee to lose up to 1 inch of water per day? Did we get some social media answers, or are we just going to go right into this?
A lot of people are picking Everglades.
All right. I'm saying, didn't we figure it was C? Yeah, we figured it was C. What do you say, Sue?
You couldn't make up that word if that's not the answer.
That's right.
Well, I learned something. Yeah, I learned something.
Let's see. The crowd got it right, too.
Yeah.
6% of the water, but it's not just evaporation. That includes all the water that goes in the atmosphere through the plant life.
And that's where the transpiration part comes from.
And that's 66%. The Everglades drains about 18% of it, and the Caloosahatchee River about 12%. No, St. Lucie Canal is only 4% of the water that.
All right.
Wow.
What do you call it when snow evaporates? Is there a word for that?
Ice and glaciers. Sublimation.
Sublimation.
Your ice cubes in the freezer when they.
That's right.
When they shrink down sublimation, they turn into a gas.
That you wouldn't put in your soft drink. That's right. 2 words. I'm up on the game today. 2 new words.
Me too.
Wow. Try to learn a new one every day. I'm doubled up today.
Wow.
Like you say, Davey, hour left in our show, and that's what you want to see right there, number 1 and number 2.
Got great service on them.
Who's going to blink first?
Every single day, guys have caught a big fish in the last, not just the last hour, the last 5 or 10 minutes, even last pitch in Cliff Prince's scenario. Yesterday, he said he had already told his marshal, last pitch, I've got to go in. Caught a 7-pounder. One of these guys might do the same thing, and it'll certainly get him a victory.
That catch and Timmy's biggest fish of the day both came right after we signed off. Now, come on.
Wow.
We got to do better today.
I asked him to do it right before we sign off today.
Tell him, yeah, more is more. I think moments ago, let's take a look at Greg Hackney out there. Figure he's about due.
Yep.
You know that's what I come back in here to catch. I didn't know if I was like, you probably won't catch a big one, but I can get rid of them little bitty ones, you know. There he is. Old blue ball.
Old blue ball.
I've had the blue ball in there all day. I got rid of the blue ball. Still ain't got nothing. Oh, I'm sure I'll get up there and then I'll be like, should just stayed in there and beat you out 20 pounds. But no, I got greedy. I love greed. I love money. I ain't like, you know. I could tell you I'd do it for the fame, but I don't. I do it for the money.
I think what he was talking about there, he left the area that he was started in this morning because he thought he could get numbers there, but might not be able to catch 7-pounders. So he went and spent a few hours where he thought he'd have a better chance of catching a 7-pounder, but he said, I'm not going to get many bites there. I don't think he caught a fish there.
No.
So he's back to his starting area, and he was just saying, I'd hate to know that if I'd have just stayed in here and beat me out 20 pounds, I might have won, because he's thinking it's going to take more than that to win. But 20 pounds, he would absolutely win if he was able to do that. But he may have burned critical time that he needed to be able to upgrade one by one.
First spot he was in, he said, I'm going to catch 5. If there's nothing that really excites me, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And they did get progressively a little bigger, but I guess none of them got big enough.
Yep. And just the opposite of the scenario this morning, now might be the time, it's getting close to time you need to just gamble to try to catch a 7-pounder in a place that you might not get another bite. You don't know. Like I mentioned earlier about playing Texas Hold'em on TV, you're great when you can see everybody else's cards.
Yeah.
We're here in the live studio. We know what's going on. These guys don't know that.
Well, Davey, how do you guys, how does Hackney decide that? He can catch numbers in there, but with so many acres of great cover on the Lake Okeechobee, there's bound to be those giants that he needs in that area.
Just experience what's worked for him this week.
A little Triton on the line action here while we wait for Hackney. Hopefully it won't be another hour and a half before Hackney catches another one here. He left us high and dry for a while there. Maybe he'll be back into the catching here soon, and he might jump a big one. You never know. But Triton on the line, and Dave Mercer back in Okeechobee City. Back near the ramp, all these guys will be headed that way. Some of them within an hour, some of them maybe in an hour and 15 minutes. And there we go. There, looking leisurely there. And familiar, world's most interesting man, J.O. right there. That's another A-lister. Nothing but A-listers this week. Hats off to you, Dave Mercer.
Way to celebrate Championship Sunday here at the ARE Truck Cabs Bassmaster Elite. Then hanging out in a tailgate with my boy Overstreet. This tournament, I mean, this morning you see a guy with an 8-pound lead, and you're like, this is going to be a boring Sunday, but not in Florida.
No, I mean, I've seen bigger than 8-pound leads evaporate before down here, and especially on the last day. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but probably the biggest meltdown that I've seen since I've been doing this was up the road a ways at Harris Chain, and it was Brian Snowden on the last day. Man, everything that could go wrong with that deal went wrong, and he loses probably, I think it's around a 9-pound lead. He zeroes for the day, and Mike McClellan
runs him down from behind. So Timmy had a tough start, and when you start looking at it, and he's still got the door open out there. So, you know, crazy things happen in Florida. It seems like more than any other place we go. I mean, you look at the last time we were here, Ish Monroe won that event. And if you look at it, I mean, it looks like he walked away with the event, but it is really easy to make up a giant deficit in the state of Florida, because anytime you can feel a tick at the end of your line, I mean, it could be a double-digit fish. If you look back at the records on day 3, Ish went out that morning with, I think, a 13 or 14-pound lead, and it whittled down to 10 ounces within one day. Chris Lane chased him down. Ish caught him on day 4 and obviously won that by a big margin. But anything can truly happen here, and I heard it on the stage a lot, Street. I'm sure you heard it talking to the guys. Last-minute fish happened a lot. We saw it with Cliff Prince. We saw it with Tim Horton, our tournament leader. That one big bite. If he doesn't get that at the end of the day yesterday, it's a totally different tournament here.
Yeah, and we had several yesterday. I think you can go on the blog and look at there's a list on the blog of how many. We had 4, 5, 8-pounders caught yesterday, several 6s, and then in the last, you know, we're getting down to where these big fish have been biting later in the afternoon. I know Davey's probably talking about it in the studio, but you know, when you look at Bass Track right now and you see where Timmy's at, and there's 3 guys only 5 pounds behind him, and their weights aren't that high, so they've got a long way to move up. If they were all sitting on 20, 25 pounds or whatever that is, 18, and really had to have a big fish to be able to call, that'd be one thing. But when you're down there 11, 12 pounds and you're only 5 pounds back on Okeechobee, obviously one fish can, you can easily overtake. And Ott DeFoe, right now, when I walked out of the media trailer,
the hottest angler in the planet.
But when I walked out of the media trailer, I'm watching him sitting on a 5-pounder that's on the bed, and so he's right there with Timmy. If he catches that fish on the bed, and he says it's 5. I mean, a lot of times, you know how it is looking at these fish in the water. A lot of times they're bigger than you think.
Especially if you've been catching them as good as Ott DeFoe has. And the crazy thing about him, just to show the power of that big day, I mean, he had the biggest bag of the tournament, 31 pounds, 3 ounces, and then Timmy backed it up on day 2 with a 30-pound bag. But that bag, what that allows you is to stumble a little bit. I mean, he said on stage yesterday, having one 30-pound day is like getting to fish an extra day out here.
Yeah, he said it. That gave me an extra day basically on the entire field, because we had so many guys weighing in around 15 pounds. Well, he doubled their weights. It's almost like if you catch 30, 31 pounds like he did, it's like you got a 5-day tournament there when you look at it that way. And that's really a cool way to look at it. But it seems like when you come down here that, or a lot of times in any tournament, a lot of times a guy will blast them every day, but it seems like a lot of times guys, they got to survive that one day here in Florida. And, you know, Timmy, it looks like he's having his day he's got to survive on the last day. And
he's experienced it before, but you know, he had, you know, one of his wins here, he kind of fell off on the last day, ended up winning at his tightest margin of victory, but it happens in Florida all the time. But a guy coming in this event that we had to believe was going to be a player, Greg Hackney.
Yeah, I mean, he's on every. If you didn't have Hackney on your fantasy team here, for instance,
you should have
I really don't know what you were thinking. I mean, this is what he does here. And when he went out this morning, I mean, my man had that look, you know, and so far he doesn't have what he needs so far. But we've been talking about it in there all day, thinking that in this last hour and a half, there's going to be some shenanigans, Dave.
Shenanigans?
Yes.
I love shenanigans.
Big bass shenanigans.
Big bass shenanigans indeed. But Cliff Prince came so close to winning that event last year in the St. Johns River. I mean, literally, everybody forgets about that, but he fished till like 9:30 on day 1 and could not call another fish because he had a problem with his live well. So after a fish pass away, you cannot cull it. So he was stuck with those fish, couldn't increase his weight, weighed in, I think, 9 pounds that day, and came back and almost won that event. But how cool would it be for him to be sneaky here today and pull this off?
He's the guy. If I were Timmy Horton this morning, I think I would have been more fearful of Cliff Prince than anybody left in the field. And I told them guys in there, I said, who's going to win? I mean, we always talk about it back and forth. You know how we hang out and that sort of thing. And of course, you know, most people in the media trailer say, oh, you know, Timmy. And I said, I think Cliff Prince is going to pull it out in the last minute.
the unique thing when you watch Cliff Prince fish, you can see Florida expertise there. You can see somebody who is right at home watching him fish. He's doing things that a lot of our competitors aren't doing. I mean, you see a lot of competitors, basically sticking with one or two rigs. We've seen Cliff Prince every day of this tournament almost fish different things. I mean, catching fish this morning on a jerk bait and very comfortable with the way he's doing it. We are ticking down to the last hour of fishing, and as we've said all day long, it's going to come down to that one key bite. Did you talk to anyone? Is there anyone in the field that, in our final 12 here that you think has saved something for that? We'll see that quite often, or
I think if there's anybody that's done that, it's going to be him. When we left Cherokee and we did the same thing about this on the last day or whatever that was live, and so we kind of talked about how this tournament was probably hold suit. You'd see some of the same familiar faces out here on the last day, and the guys that are doing that we got out there now, you kind of expect some of those guys to be there. But of that group, you expect, Cliff Prince, he should be out there, and he's going to win one in Florida. He's going to win one. I mean, just a little bit of luck one way or another, he would have already won. So he's the guy that I think could be a little sneaky right here at the end.
If he wins, I mean, this event presented by ARE, but it may want to be presented by Kleenex, because I'm going to tell you this. Prince, a bit of a crier. I mean, I'm an emotional man myself, so I'm not making fun of him, but we may see some tears on the stage.
No, I don't think a guy ever. Hey, even if a guy's not known to be a crier, I don't know that you know how you would react when they hand that trophy to you. How do you know until you actually get the trophy? So.
Speaking of the trophy, it's all about this right here. Let's have a look at what these guys competing for. This bad boy right here. So many anglers out there battling. They started with 110, cut it down to 51, and 12 guys battling it out for that bad boy right there. Tommy, Davey, it is literally going to be down to the last cast, as we've seen day after day.
I agree with J.O. so much about Cliff Prince being the guy that you probably need to be fearful of this afternoon, and not so sneaky if you've been talking to him all week like I've been able to, but you're dead on, J.O. The one question I've got that is real important for what Cliff told me he needed calm winds in the afternoon when those fish are moving up on beds, and he's certainly one of the best sight fishermen we have out there. Is the wind laying? Looks like from here that the wind's laying some.
I wouldn't say it's laying. I mean, it may be a little bit. We've had some stronger gusts earlier, but it definitely, the adjective I would not use at this point is not laying. It's still blowing. What's your opinion, Street?
Well, man, here's what I think about that. I think, Dave, you talked about a lot of planning and thinking about the different things that you might have to go through here to survive Okeechobee. Prince is smart enough on this body of water to probably anticipate this kind of wind and find some calm areas or some lee areas out of this wind if he's sight fishing, for instance, where he can still see. I mean, You see some of these places where it's still slick, like back there where Ott's at right now, and don't be surprised if old Prince doesn't have a couple of spots back there where he can get out of that wind and still see those big fish up there on the beds.
Yep. Guys, last week at Cherokee, y'all were talking about that just a little bit, and the fact was that a lot of people said, we get back down here to Okeechobee, a lot of those familiar faces will be back on top of the leaderboard, and so that's worked out in a big way this time. But last time at Cherokee, we got introduced to a lot of new guys. A lot of guys that we've never seen before. Very impressive out there today. Who has come into their own this week? Which new guy to our audience here, to everyone who follows the Elite Series, has really distinguished
himself? You guys
himself?
have no idea what's in our ear right now, but it is spectacular. Tommy, we lost you.
Uh-oh. Okay. Can it go again? Can you hear me now?
That is like a UFO. Oh, now we're back. It's like a UFO landing in our ear.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, who's impressed you? Who's come into their own this week?
Can you do us a favor, Street, for the viewers watching right now? I mean, you're a man of the people. You always are. We can't share with them the noise that we just heard in our ear, but maybe you could imitate it for the camera right now.
Man, my voice isn't near that high, dude. I can't go there.
What was your question, Tommy? You were asking about some of the new faces.
Yeah. Plenty of new faces. Cherokee was just all about. It was 100% new faces, just about. A lot more familiar guys this time around. Who has distinguished himself? Who has moved up and really taken the spotlight for the first time this week in your mind?
I mean, Jesse Wiggins still made the cut, you know, and so did Skylar Hamilton made the cut here. So, you know, Stetson Blaylock made his first cut, and he's going to make a lot of cuts. Stetson Blaylock's going to make a lot of cuts. I mean, he's not just your ordinary rookie. And Beeler didn't make the cut this week. He's a so-called rookie, but man, old Jesse Wiggins still made the 50 cut.
Tyler Carrier leading Phoenix Boats Big Bass, the biggest fish of the tournament,
That's
too.
right.
Tyler Carrier, we had him on the show last week on the live show, but we saw him catch that giant 9.5 on day number 1, and he's got 12 anglers to hope that they don't catch a 9.5 here today, and he'll walk away with that title. But really, I mean, our cast of rookies this year, in my opinion, we've had years where they're maybe even as bigger names coming in as rookies. But I'm going to tell you, the anglers here, like a Dustin Cannell, I mean, that's a hammer. That is not somebody who's a rookie. I mean, he's made two cuts in a row.
That's right.
And there's a cast of characters, but week after week we keep meeting them.
Yeah, Dustin Connell, man, he's young, but he's very tournament seasoned. I mean, you got to remember, he went up against Jordan Lee and all those guys in college and fished as a big-time college angler, fished in the national championship. I mean, you know, guys like him, they're tournament ready when they show up. They've faced adversity. They've had to change from day to day and that sort of thing. So the Rookie of the Year race is going to be a good one this year, it looks like. So
it's going to be a
long
long
way to go, though.
Going to be a lot of fun. Going to be an exciting way, and make sure to tune it out. And speaking of good things, I mean, Main Street got these koozies, and we got to go find something to put in them.
Right.
All the way in, of course.
Of course.
Absolutely. A little late Sunday brunch for these guys right here. Why not? Hey, treat yourselves, guys. Treat yourselves right. You've been doing great work down there in Okeechobee all week long. We thank James Overstreet and Dave Mercer for that right there. Dave Mercer going to be leading the way, the #1 cheerleader for what's going to happen, a crowning of a champion, the second champion of the season for the Bassmaster Elite Series here, coming up at 3:15 Eastern Time. And I still keep thinking about that pure logistics question that you posed a couple of hours ago. Maybe something does happen in the last hour. Maybe you go big. Maybe you catch a big one. But how far away do you want to be from the check-in when that happens? You got to think about that.
I want to be close because something has happened big every single day, and I'm going to be willing to guarantee you it's going to happen today.
All right. We talked about the newcomers, the new faces that we've seen out here. Cherokee was all about new faces. Jesse Wiggins on top, and Jesse Wiggins you see on top of our list for Bassmaster Elite Series Rookie of the Year. Little Alton Jones Jr. Little Alton has showed up the old man a little bit so far.
2 checks and 2 tournaments. Good for him.
Yeah, how about that? Dustin Connell, that's a hammer. These fellows readily talked about that. Skylar Hamilton, Tennessee boy that did well down here. That makes a couple of them that have done very well down here, including Ott Defoe, in the top 10 just about every day. Jamie Hartman, we were introduced to him. A rookie in his first exposure to the Elite Series, but obviously he's been around the fishing game for a good long time. Mark Daniels Jr., a lot of people very impressed with him. Jesse Tactorante taking some big-time center stage action here during the week at Okeechobee. The name goes down. Daryl Okamika, Gerald Sporer, Robbie Latuso. Hey, those guys got to step up their game a little bit. This is a tough race for Rookie of the Year.
Real quick note, though, I talked to Jesse Wiggins after just before this tournament started. Got to talk to him some last event because I was on site. Got to know him. Great young guy. I was very, very impressed. One thing that I'd like to share, I asked him, had he gotten many calls? Had he picked up any new sponsors after having such a great first event? He said, not really, but it's amazing how some companies had found my email that they had lost during the fall of the year and when I was talking about contracts and that sort of thing. So a lot of folks found his email address that they said they had lost for several months.
Well, they say success makes old lost friends come found again. I guess it works on emails too. Jesse Wiggins, hey, best wishes, Jesse. I think a lot of people just about universally impressed with that young man right there.
You bet.
Since Dave Mercer and J.O. were on the live hit right there, Fletcher Shryock caught a 3 3/4 pounder. He called up 3/4 of a pound, so he's over 20 pounds today. The first pro to do that today, 20 and a half right now. Still though, over 4 pounds out. So he's going to need closer to 30 because we've got to believe that Timmy Horton's going to come in with more than 9.5 at the end of the day. So he's got to get overwhelmingly one of the top 5 bags of the week if he wants to try to pull this out from
That's
far.
what J.O. was talking about. It's great to see Fletcher make that move and be up. Oh, it's got
That's
a fish
a better
on.
one.
Big one. Could be the changer right here. A lot better fish.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh.
Stay picked up, baby. I ain't never flipped a fish that big before, I don't think. Woo! Look at that. I probably have, but dude, that's a big one. That's a big old fish to hit to jerk out of the water. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
How big do you think that fish was, Davey?
Oh, man. Asking you shall receive, right? Right there's all about clones. Thank you, Lord. That's a good call. Man, when I hit that, dude, I knew I had something even though I jerked it out of the water. That's pretty sweet. Man, thank you, Lord. It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet.
If he only knew, it certainly ain't over yet. He thinks he's got a chance now. He's got more than a chance.
Oh,
He's
my
knocking
God.
on the door with that fish.
Absolutely pulling right up there.
I was saying, please don't grab the line. Just swing him. Just swing him in here. And he said he'd never swung a fish that big. It certainly worked out good for him.
Understandably excited, Ott Defo, his best fish of the day, and what a time to bring it into the boat. Things getting tighter and tighter on Okeechobee. One more half hour left to go in our coverage. We'll take a break and be right back.
Man, it's slow today.
Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish. Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash. Plus a Triton 17 TX bass boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
Hey, thanks, Dane.
Out of office?
Oh, man. Hi, this is Skeet.
Out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the other line. Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working.
I am working.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Last half hour coming up of Bassmaster Live, and this is the last time I'm going to tell you. You better mark it down on your calendar. 1 month from this weekend, March 24th, 25th, 26th. The whole circus comes to town in Houston, Texas. The #1 event in the sport of bass fishing. Huge, huge Bassmaster Classic, the Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. That's the expo right there. You'll see it all the new products, some of the biggest names in the sport, all the categories that you want to see what's new in. It's all yours right there in Houston, Texas. Hey, that's a great town to visit anyway. Big town, sports town. Love to see how they're going to accept the anglers of the Bassmaster Classic when they roll in, all in their boats, ready to walk into Minute Maid Park there, the home of the Astros. Weigh them in. Be there with us for that.
Just tightened up a little bit, didn't it, Tommy?
Oh my gosh, everybody said, everyone we talked to said, I'm waiting for tomorrow. This is what they said, yes, I'm waiting for tomorrow. That's when it's all going to shake out. That's when it's all going to get tight. Boy, has it ever. Ott Defoe with a timely fish right there. Has himself back into second place, and not much of a difference between him and our leader, Ott Defoe. One more look at our hummingbird lay of the lake. You can take a look at things right there. Lake Okeechobee, again, we've said it 100 times, it's just not like any place else that these guys go and fish. A different set of rules, different sort of laws of nature in effect down here, Davey.
The first thing that jumps out to me, no one on the downwind side of the lake. It has moved all of the fishermen to the western side, the northwestern side of the lake. Greg Hackney being more south than the other guys. Ott Defoe that just caught that 5 or 6 pound bass that puts him really, really close to Timmy Horton. He's just a little north of Greg Hackney. And then Timmy, he's not been over here, but he had to move with the wind the way it trashed his area. But he's really put his head down today, and it looks like if he can just catch one more decent fish, it'll be hard for anybody to overtake him. Stephen Browning right in there where he's been just about all week.
There we go, back up closer to the takeoff, and where we find Cliff Prince.
Cliff, somebody you better watch. I hope he catches a nice one if he's going to do it while we still got him on live, but maybe between the time we leave him and weigh in. And certainly can't forget about Bobby Lane. He's somebody who knows how to catch a 10-pounder in Florida.
One of the hottest guys today, definitely the hottest guy today, is Fletcher Shryock, 20 pounds and 9 ounces. And Fletcher Shryock, Bobby Lane, Cliff Prince have all got something in common. They can fish till just about the last minute. They are not far from the launch right there, and that's something you have to factor in. But the thing everyone's thinking about now, I mean, the way the big ones seem to come out of the same spot, is Ott going to strike again on us?
That means I got 50 minutes. That's more time than I've spent back here all week. So
I think Ott is where he's been every day.
You guys stick around, and maybe I'll catch something for y'all to see other than the mudfish. I got Bobby Lane coming up here ahead of me. Maybe he'll catch one for us. Yeah, this is where I caught pretty close. It's up there the other side of where Bobby's at. I just shut down a little early just to fish my way up there to it, because I've been bit all through here. It's right at 7 pounds, maybe a little more.
Cliff Prince, we saw him single-handedly win the Grinnell division of this tournament just a few moments ago while we're talking with J.O. and Dave Mercer.
That bite feels just like when an 8-pound bass bites it. It sure gets your adrenaline flowing.
Ott Defoe is on point right now. There's nothing like a big. I guess that's the biggest fish we've seen today get caught, isn't it?
I think so. Fletcher's got one bigger than that, but we weren't on him live when he caught that. But it's definitely the biggest one we've been able to see. Not the last big one, I don't think.
All right, mark that down, folks.
I'm gonna leave about 45 minutes, which is.
No, it's definitely
Not a whole lot
aware
of
that the
extra.
big ones are in there. Let's take another look at this one he just hauled in to get very close to our leader.
He laid down
That's
a
a better
spinning
one.
rod and picked up a flipping stick. It looks like a soft plastic bait on a Texas rig with a punch skirt.
Stay picked up, baby. I ain't never flipped a fish that big before, I don't think. Woo! Look at that. I probably have, but dude, that's a big one. That's a big old fish to hit to jerk out of the water. Ah, thank you, Jesus.
He didn't want to sit down and mess around with that one.
No, he sure did.
Get in
He
the
sure
boat.
did.
I got one more of you to catch. Let's get back to it.
I see a little hop in his step.
Oh,
You can
man.
tell he smells the chance now. Maybe not victory, but he thinks he's certainly got a chance now. It just looks like.
That was logged in as a 5-pounder, bumped him up to 16 pounds, basically 15 pounds, 15 ounces. So you thought, Davey, it was maybe a 6-pounder. So if we split the difference, he's going to still be about 1.5 pounds behind Horton right now.
But certainly within reach.
Oh, for sure. I think he still has a 2-pounder. I'm going to check to see what
Yeah, I
his
was gonna
5
ask
fishing
what
and
he-
his
what
live
he got
well
in
are.
there. I know we were sort of thinking out loud what we'd like to ask Ott right
Yeah.
now, and you had a couple of things you'd
You
like for him
think
to
we
talk
could
about.
ask him what weight he thinks he's got in his live well right now? Because he'll be the best. He'll know. He'll be close to that. And the other thing, if we're able to ask him what he thinks he's got right now, what did he think this morning going out, his target weight that he thought he would need to be able to have a chance to catch and pass Timmy Horton?
Get that out to him. Bear in mind he's about 16 pounds right now, according to Bass Tracking.
I know he's been making Bass Pro Shops proud.
Oh my
Boy,
gosh.
he's been on fire.
I think I've got 3 that may weigh about 7, and then I've got 2 that'll weigh about 9. So about 16 maybe.
He is spot on, 1 ounce off, and he's referring
But
to.
I've been terrible this week. Yesterday I said 15 and I was 2 ounces off, but I don't catch a lot of 31-pound bags, so I missed that one by quite a bit.
His 5 fish in his live well right now, since he's cutting out. He's got a 5.
Second day I caught that big one, so late I didn't really have time to look at it.
Says approximately a 5, 1 close to 4, and then 3 that are around 2.5. So that's why that's where he gets those figures from.
So what did he set out today thinking he needed to put in the boat? That's the part 2 of that question.
I'd be real curious to know the number. Surely he had a number in his mind that he thought he would have to get to have a chance. I bet it's not 16.
19, 20 maybe, something like that.
Or more.
Or more.
I can feel it. And we're, how many miles away from Lake Okeechobee? You've probably made that drive. It's a long ways, and I can feel it.
Ways.
I can feel it in Little Rock, Arkansas. You can see it kind of turned up the volume here after that last fish.
It's gonna be all she wrote right there. Yep. 25 to even think about it.
Yep. There you go. They asked him the question.
But I assume you're asking me these things because I'm probably closer than I think I am.
Smart guy.
But 25 is what I told myself I would need to think about. But you never know. Everybody else could have shot for the moon and missed, and Timmy could have missed. That's why we call it bass fishing and why we all love it so much, because you just never know. Let's go, hammer time. I'm glad I missed your head with that. It felt good.
Now, we don't know. Well, I assume he's got one more spot to hit before his fishing day is over.
He seemed pretty eager to go to that one more spot. And the thing that I noticed when we asked him that, I was really eager. I'm glad we got to ask him that question. What was the target weight you thought you needed this morning when you left? And he said 25 to have a chance. But then it took him, 20 seconds to say? But I assume you're asking me that question because it's not going to take that much. And I said, smart guy. You just pick up on those things, even though they can't watch live or they're able to look at Bass Track, but maybe they don't want to. Things happen and you're aware of what's going on. The classic with Jason Christie, the guy that so politely yelled out what Edwin Evers had 28 pounds. Guys pick up on things, and that 6-pounder, 5-pounder, whatever it was, really kind of put Ott in a different mode of speed that I hadn't seen in a few hours, but you could just tell there he's eager to go somewhere else, that I think he's got a lot of confidence in maybe catching another one that size.
First time today you could hear him breathing heavy, and he was doing that for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes after he caught that fish. There's some heavy breathing on the Triton on the line telephone line right now, and I understand that it's being attributed to one and only Mark Zona. Z, can you hear us?
Oh boy.
I can, my friend, and hey, props up to both of you guys this weekend. I've been hopping in and out. Karen's at a stage 2 as far as being dilated right now, so we're on pins and needles right now.
Man,
and it's a blessed weekend. Hashtag so thankful, guys.
Okay. Well, it's the miracle baby is what we call it right there. What a picture! What
so
a
she's
picture.
Having another one this quick?
That's amazing.
No, and guys, the picture of me, that is my cousin. I was at a basketball game the other night.
Oh,
Karen,
okay.
Yeah, Karen's been at the hospital this weekend with the boys. The boys have been just complete troopers. And guys, I've never done this before, and this is going to be a first on Bassmaster Live. I was going to ask Brent Ayler and Greg Hackney, but Tommy and Davey, would you consider being godparents of HI Zona?
I'm overwhelmed. Yes, I will. Of course I will. I've never been so honored in my life. And Karen, what a radiant, girls just take on that glow when they get in that condition. What a radiant picture that is. Right
if there. Mercer,
she has been. She has just been just such a trooper throughout this last, especially this last 5 days. And definitely she's had highs and lows. It's been it does not look like we're going to have HI until either tomorrow or Tuesday, but truly excited up here.
HI, would you explain HI? I thought it was HA.
No, it's Hunter Alexander. That's right, exactly. It's HI. You nailed it, Tommy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Things have just been in such a whirlwind, you forget initials and little things, minor details like that.
We do, but we're just so blessed right now.
I understand.
Zona, I have to say, I don't know if you were listening when we were just talking to J.O. and Mercer, and Mercer was talking about maybe if Cliff Prince won this event, he might cry on stage. If Mercer had just not really been making fun of grown men that cry, I would probably cry after the honor that you just offered Tommy and I.
Well, number one, I appreciate you guys accepting it. This is a first on Bassmaster Live, but I will keep you guys posted this week what happens, but gosh, it just pins and needles up here. You know what I mean, guys?
Well, things are popping on Okeechobee and things are popping up there at your place. Z, you've been watching a little bit. You said you've had a little time to look in on what's going on this final day. Has it lived up to your expectations? And lay out the scenario the way you see this day finishing?
Gosh, man, you know what's weird is you look at, I've listened to Davey and yourself, Tommy, all weekend long, and I'm going to tell you, Davey's guy this entire week has been Cliff Prince, and rightfully so. He has made hay late in the day every single day of this event so far. But here's the really interesting thing about this tournament right now is, I know I'm being Captain Obvious, but we got 3 or 4 guys that are 1 or 2 swings of the bat to knocking Tim Horton's lights out in this thing. And really, the other side of it is you had a vibe when you saw that win this morning, exactly what Davey said on day 2. Guys, Davey, you have fished so many tournaments in Florida. Tommy, we have covered so many tournaments in Florida. You knew it was a different, fragile day.
Absolutely. As we watch Ott Defo, that's some highlight footage right there. I think that was earlier today, first thing this morning, and Ott Defo scoring with the frog. Again, guys that, this is going to be, it's kind of been a battle between 2 different philosophies from the very start of our coverage anyway. There's Timmy Horton, who's sticking with exactly what he's doing. Ott Defo being far more pragmatic.
We've seen him fish with at least a dozen different lures, from spinning rod to heavy flipping stick. He's caught fish on everything he's pulled out of his box. He's really showed his versatility this week.
Z, Ott, and we've seen him win the Alabama River. We've seen him win up on the upper Mississippi. I mean, this guy's for real. Number one, he's probably the hottest guy in bass fishing right now. When you look at him, what do you see as the 3 things that make him a world beater?
The dude just has no holes in his game, man. He has no holes in his game. And, Davey, we talked about this during the Cherokee Lake event. One of these guys that has momentum going right now, whether it's Ott, you can even look at Greg Hackney. These are the guys that you're going to see pull away from the pack. I'm going to tell you, after watching this week, though, as well as Ott has performed in this tournament, with where the Bassmaster Elite Series goes as far as the schedule in the next few months, I'm going to tell you, gang, Hackney's going to be a headache. You saw a little bit of a slip-up from Keith Combs this week. And I'm going to tell you, no matter what anybody says, Greg Hackney's still pissed off over last year. I'll live by that.
Oh, I agree. You don't forget those things.
No.
Not Greg Hackney.
According to, as we take a look at Greg Hackney right now, something that today he's going to be maybe less than satisfied with is one of his own decisions that he made. He went through his first spot. He said, if I catch a limit here, I don't like what I see, I'm going to move somewhere else where I know I can catch some big ones. That didn't pan out, and he winds up back at that place where he started today. Is that something he'll shake off rather easily, or is that something that's going to stick with him?
I think what's been interesting to watch Hackney is, look, it's a pain in the rear end to flip a jig and that cover a whole tournament, because I was listening to all the commentary on it that it doesn't slick through that heavy grass, but I've really questioned Hackney over the last half dozen years on that flipping that jig, that heavy jig. And like you said, if you look at Chris Lane or Roland Martin, a lot of the guys that fish down there, a jig is a staple, but really listening to Hackney when he goes into the bulk of that presentation, the main reason he flips that jig is when he hammers one, he's got a 90% chance of getting in the boat. He's taught me that over the last 5 years. If you want your percentage to go up in heavy cover, use a jig. It's a pain, but use a jig.
Well, that's a great point right there, and one that Timmy Horton could probably sympathize with right there. Getting the one that you set the hook on and getting it in the boat. Yeah. He had one that came off yesterday that, hey, he'd be clear sailing right now.
He'd be over. He's done well. We watched him land every fish, but I agree with Hackney and what Zona just said. The jig is just a higher percentage. You got that exposed hook. It's a big, heavy wire, strong hook, and the percentages are really good, and that makes all the difference in the world. You lose a 9-pounder, it changes things.
Everybody said it. David's been saying it from the day we started the live coverage today. This is a different place. Things are not going to go like you figure they're going to go for anyone throughout this thing. And Z, as we look at the list of guys who've been down the road for a couple of days now, or just now getting out of the state of Florida, in some cases, I mean, it's shocking to see some of the guys who were absolutely shut out by a place that they've done well before in.
I agree. But Tommy, one thing that you said, one thing I thought was really cool. We had a really strange tournament at Cherokee with not the usual players that we see on the Bassmaster Elite Series on a final day. And you made the comment, the usual, the veterans, Davey talked about it too at Cherokee, that they would show up here at Okeechobee. And you just have a vibe. We're going to see a lot more of the same old with the lakes we're heading to after this.
Oh, you think more like Okeechobee, that sort of lineup at the top of the leaderboard?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Just because the places we're going, Tommy, they have got so much experience under their belt.
I talked to Chris Lane last night. He was driving home, and you mentioned him driving home. Some great fishermen, obviously.
Yeah.
Chris Lane is a great fisherman, especially in the state of Florida. And he said, I'm ready to punch the windshield out of my truck. I mean, that's exactly what he said. He's that mad at him. And with every ounce of blood in his body, I believe what he said in his next sentence, I will be back. I will be back this year. So keep that in mind.
All right. What do you think's the biggest lesson these guys have learned? This place, and I've been harping on it because it just seems to me so alien from any place else you guys visit. So everybody's learned a lesson here. What's the most valuable lesson that some of these key guys have learned here on Lake Okeechobee, Z?
What's cool about Florida is, number one, the bass that you got to see on Bassmaster Live, really the last 2 days, it's how fickle a Florida strain bass is. When that wind comes out of the north, I don't know. And here's the amazing thing: if you've never fished for Florida strain bass, you cannot gauge how temperamental that fish is, for the simple fact that a 1 degree water temp drop will lock that lake down. And if you fish for them, you could be around 100 pounds of bass, and they will not bite.
We had Steve Browning, as we have some Steve Browning footage up on the thing today. It was just a joy to be out there with him today, where he could do no wrong. He could catch them at will. He just couldn't put a big one in the boat. But, there's room for all different kinds of styles out here, and Stephen Browning has done a successful job of keeping himself in the top 12 at least, and mostly in the top 6 all week long. Stephen Browning showing out good here.
Just this little cold front, just little north wind, all these bites that he's been getting and putting them in the boat. We've watched him. They just weren't eating this morning.
Stephen Browning's got some...
One of the things about Browning, if you really looked at Browning from the beginning of the tournament, he's kind of hodgepodge things together on how he's had to catch them. Because really, those guys did. They ended up, all your bladed jig fishermen, they ate each other alive the first 2 days of this, and Browning has had to piece things together on little different ways of adjustments throughout this event.
One thing we haven't talked about too much leading up to today, but it became very obvious today. This may be the fish right here. He pulled one in the boat, spits out someone else's worm. These are pressured fish. They're not only finicky fish, these are very pressured fish on Okeechobee. As remote as this place is, it gets a lot of traffic, right?
No doubt. And the other side of it was watching him break down to a spinning rod yesterday. I watched all of the highlights yesterday, and you could tell the area that Browning's been in all week long, so much pressure, it just took its toll. If you looked at the photo galleries from day one to really this final day, you could tell that area had been leaned on the most from all of our other anglers in the top 12.
I know you study the map, you study the history of a lake before we have a tournament, Z, and I know you had some notions as to certain areas that play on the lake, certain areas that be cautious about. Any new spots open up? Any place that they caught them this week that surprised you?
I think one of the things that I looked for coming to this tournament, we all kind of shared notes going into it, was an open water guy, which really Browning and Brett Hite. I know Davey was watching Brett Hite so much, and guys like Brent Ayler that were really staying away from locking in with a flip and stick like Timmy, like Dean Rojas, like Greg Hackney. This seemed like this could potentially be one of those tournaments that a guy could win in that more open water along that, that western shoreline, that northern shore. But when all is said and done, gosh, man, it's going to end up being the same old, same old. Somebody's going to knock it out of the park with a flipping stick.
Z, thank you so. I mean, things are so hectic at your house right now, and I know you had to put the entire karate dimension, that part, on hold for now. Things are just really popping around the house. So thanks for spending some time today. Yeah, you've embarrassed me and Davey. We're not worthy. Thank you so much for making us a part.
Hashtag so thankful
of this blessing.
We're so blessed, and the kids and I are going to try to take in a Renaissance fair tonight, and hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday is going to be the day, guys.
Give Karen a hug. Tell her congratulations.
You know I will, bud.
Hold her hand.
I love you guys.
Hold her hand
thankful.
for us. So thankful. Hashtag so blessed. Mark Zona there in the Zona household certainly. Well, I won't go any further.
Yeah.
You know, that makes me think that something like that always puts me in mind of the power pole replay of the day. You know, it's just something about it that has that same sort of nostalgic, sentimental thing. And that's
together.
This is the one right here, the biggest fish we've seen caught on camera all day long. And this is Ott Depot and a timely fish for him, too.
You know, the power pole play of the day is the play of the day. Unfortunately, one of the days it was a loss. I'm glad to see it being another catch. I like to see these guys catch big fish.
Yeah, it was a hurting replay of the day yesterday.
But it was the big play.
Oh, it was. There's no doubt about it. That was the appropriate choice. And look at Ott Depot swinging that big one in the boat right there.
That is the biggest one he ever swung in the boat. Put him in second place, definitely within reach. I was thinking before this fish, he's probably going to have to catch a 7 or 8 pounder, but with this 5.5 pounder or so, if he catches another 4 or 5 pounder, it'll probably put him in the lead.
We've had 15 plus 8 pounders caught this event. Will one show up, you think?
I don't know about an 8, but one big enough for somebody to take the lead, and maybe for Timmy to keep the lead. I think there'll be another quality fish, 5 plus, caught before they have to check in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Coming down to the wire, we had an idea, had a chance of being close here. We say, hey, with all these giant weights, it still could come down to a game of ounces. I think we're headed just for that right there. Mike Sukan, Ronnie Moore, thank you so much. It's been a great week working with you guys here in the studio. Look forward to this being a great resource for us all week long. You guys just bring so much to the broadcast. Davey, hi, thank you, man.
Thank you for having me. This is my first rodeo. Man, I appreciate it.
Great job, Davey.
First rodeo, big success, huge success for our own Davey Hyde here, part of the team, and so proud of that. Dave Mercer, big part of the team as well, and you'll see that in spades as he takes on the weigh-in. Only 12 guys, but it's going to be a show. It's going to be quite possibly a white-knuckle, nail-biting situation at Okeechobee City at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time today. See Scott Driver Park. If you're in the area, make it down for that because there's going to be some hooping and hollering all afternoon long.
Might even be somebody barefooted on stage just hooping and hollering.
Yeah, the barefoot guy might even win it. You never know. We are so up in the air right now. The weigh-in coming up at 3:15. And great being with you. Thanks for spending time with us on Bassmaster Live. We'll see you next time.